welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are the Yerky Boys. Here today, book 46, The Deception.
Released in September of 2000. 1 year to go until 9/11.
You're right. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about the fact that we're not going to be there on 9/11, but we have a 1 year pre-versary, and this is it.
Everyone's been looking forward to it.
Damn, I was the only one out of the loop. Well, now I'm excited.
Now
I
we're
wasn't
all
excited. Before, but...
Yeah, we're excited. It's a new book. Look, last week we left off on a real barnstormer. What does that mean? Does that mean something? What does that mean? It doesn't matter. That's when Rachel's a bear and she rushes into Cassie's house.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're making jokes. We're cracking jokes about the Animorphs. The fans love it. But we do have some business to get to before we talk about the book today.
Okay. You mentioned briefly before the episode started that there were like a lot of emails or something. So I do know there's business this time.
We're flooded.
Normally I don't know if there's business.
Yeah, this time you got a little behind the scenes peek.
Yeah, I did.
That's right. We're going to have a segment right now. It's called The Sharing.
The Sharing.
I think that one you tried too much on. I think listeners have come to expect a lack of effort.
Listen, here's the deal. Remember how it was hot a couple episodes ago and I got kind of loopy? Well, it's hot again, and I might be a little loopy this episode, too.
Yeah, I mean, you're in an undisclosed location, but here in New Jersey, where I am, there is a heat wave this week.
Yeah.
It's rough. It's not good out here.
Yeah, the heat dome, or whatever they called it, is centered, like, right the fuck over my house, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it feels like we're wherever the Animorphs are. But we're in the sharing right now. Let's just try to stay focused.
The sharing!
We have
share some sharings.
Multiple emails to get through before we talk about today's books relating to last week's book as well as some other subjects. So last week we read number 45, the something or other.
The Revelation.
Right. The
many revelations.
That's right. And one of the things that I comment that we had a little discussion about, which I didn't really expect people to latch on to, but I guess I did. We did entreat the listeners to chime in. Did I use that word correctly?
Sure.
Okay. Sometimes my brain will throw a word out and I'm like, I've never said that before. Is that even what it means?
That's the wonderful thing about language, is that if you start using it that way and the listeners start using it that way, then that's what it means now.
I don't like that, actually. That sucks. Anyway, the thing that I discussed was how I thought there were some awkward phrasings in the last book relating to timing or lack thereof or strange gaps.
That pizza thing?
Yes, it was an extremely weird, nitpicky complaint about not having enough description or feeling like there was like a gap in the descriptions of what was happening. I can't even describe it now. It's not worth it if you didn't listen to it. Just know it was annoying and dumb.
I couldn't describe it. I mean, I could have described it at the time because you described it and I could have repeated. But like, as I recall, you gave an example and I could not tell what was wrong with it until you clarified.
It doesn't matter. Listeners have thoughts. First up is our friend Steven.
Hi, Steven.
These are all repeat. This is all part of the usual peanut gallery of our Pee-wee's Playhouse cast of characters here.
This is why you listen. We got a fully fleshed out cast of characters on this podcast now.
Steven writes, hi, Yerky Boys. Jonathan should be happy to know that he isn't the only person who had complaints about time. The YouTuber Pop Arena, in the Opinionated Animorphs Book Review series, leveled a similar complaint. I can't seem to find the exact episode, though in this case the writer underestimated the amount of time something should take. Basically, there was a scene where Tobias got sent out to do something and then returned after a page and a half of conversation, despite the fact that the task involved should have taken far longer. I originally thought this was about retrieving the eels in Book 29, The Sickness, but I couldn't confirm that. Maybe another intrepid Yerky Boys listener can find the exact thing I'm talking about. Either way, Jonathan should feel validated about his concerns. Keep up the good work, Stephen. Mercifully brief, this email.
Yeah, that's a crazy short email. I was sitting, yeah, yeah, I was ready for the long haul. You know what? I feel like it was the eels, and you know why? So
Mhm.
I have heard of this opinionated Animorphs book review thing, though I never personally watched it. But I could swear that I read that exact complaint with the eels and all in the goof section on Seropedia, and probably didn't bring it up in the episode because it was stupid. But the fact that that sounds so familiar to me implies that somebody who watched that review wrote it in on Seropedia, and that's why that's there in my brain.
Maybe all the goofs on Seropedia come from this series.
That could be.
Maybe the guy who did them is is an editor.
Maybe he's the only maybe the entire maybe it's all his fault.
Here's the thing about this email. It reads like it's supporting me,
Mhm.
but I don't feel like it actually is. Like, first of all, I don't want to be compared to a YouTuber I've never heard of. I
That's
have a
reasonable.
feeling I wouldn't like this person. I probably don't like this series. I have never heard of them, never watched them, but I just think I don't like them. And I feel like Steven knows that somehow. And I feel like this is like he knows this is going to get under my skin.
I do think he intentionally tries to piss you off when he writes these.
Yeah, 100%. So I don't like that, but also the thing he's like, oh, you should feel validated because look, they had the same complaint. It's a completely different book, and it doesn't even sound. I mean, I guess it sounds vaguely similar to what I'm talking about, but it's like not the same author. This is not really backing my argument at all.
Can
So thanks for trying to help, I guess, but fuck you. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I can't accept this support. Sorry.
That's good because again, I'm standing by my position of nobody has actually had your complaint before in all of history. Nobody ever had a problem with that book.
Because of how unique and astute I am, more so than others.
Well, I don't know.
Yep, we agree. Now, maybe we can get to the bottom of this with the next email. Maybe this will help a little more. This
Oh,
comes from our friend Lane.
hi, Lane.
Lane writes, "Hi there, boys. That's us. Capital
It's
B.
us.
I heard you were clamoring for more emails, so here I am to give you what you asked for. Enjoy." A confetti emoji. 1. There's multiple sections. They're numbered.
Oh, good. This will make up for last email.
1. You discussed, and you can see how this leads right in from the last one. You discussed how Ellen G's ghost written books were written differently as far as scene descriptions went. And it has me wondering if she did that intentionally. Like with the intent of differentiating the narrator slash character's voice in the literary sense. Like maybe highlighting details that one character would take note of, like the surroundings, environment, or rumination on negative thoughts for Tobias. Marco may be less concerned with those details, so maybe he wouldn't mention them as much in his quote unquote memoirs that are the series. It feels like that should be the approach for each character, to have different written styles to differentiate characters more and make reading each one truly feel different and unique. Or it could just be that Ellen was trying to keep things condensed so she could fit more plot. Who knows? I'd like to believe the former, though. What do you think? Do we believe this?
I mean, I definitely would have just said it's the latter and not the former. Um, I guess the question is, how differentiated is it from her Jake book? The Tobias and Jake books, are they different enough? Because it did feel like the Tobias and Jake books had similar styles going on that were separate from Mark. The problem is her next book is also going to be a Jake book, so we won't like see her do Cassie and Rachel and blah blah blah. So we
Mhm.
don't have a lot of data on that point. I mean, it's a fun theory.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
do think we both agreed that Marco was funny in her book. Like that is Marco. I feel like Marco has the most distinct voice out of all the Animorphs because he's funny.
I think that's true. I mean, they all have distinct voices. I would say it's just that not every author employs their distinct voice all the time.
Hmm.
And Marco feels like because a joke is such an obvious thing to note that they just do that more consistently. Whereas a Jake book might just be a book.
Hmm.
Or Cassie might not be doing her Cassie thing all the time necessarily. It does seem like that's something that maybe I feel like the books could do more often. But I'm sure there's some of that. I'm sure there's got to at least be an attempt, like because you are thinking about it differently as if you're writing it from a different POV to some extent.
Yeah, they're absolutely. I agree with you. There absolutely should be a big difference. I feel like I want to like in some way I want to differentiate between like the characters, like just this is what I thought to myself, and like the actual voice. Like, how do I write this sentence, the same sentence that I would have written for all of these characters? And I feel like
Mm.
there's not like even between like Rachel and Cassie, if I'm just describing something that happened, I feel like there's not that much difference in some sense in their books. It's more just the things they take note of. At least Axe has like a more stilted way of talking, or Marco will make jokes about random stuff for no reason. I don't know. I feel like Tobias Axe and Marco are more differentiated on the whole throughout books.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Thinking through it, brain fried because of the heat.
sure. Well, maybe this explains. Maybe this is my issue with the stupid thing. Maybe Marco just doesn't give a shit. Like he's zoning out. He's like, I'm
Hmm.
making a pizza, and like this conversation was going on, but he just didn't care enough to write it down.
I mean, that is what was happening. He spent a lot of that being like, and then my dad and Nora geeked out about math until she lost interest too, and I didn't care. I watched TV.
Right.
I don't
So
know.
there's something going on there. Okay, let's go on
Part
with this
one of this
email.
email.
Anyway, number two. I totally get the Animorphs fatigue that was mentioned in previous books. That's basically why every reread through I skip the books that aren't even remotely relevant to the main plot and or those that are just so badly written I'd be upset if I had to read them again. Vomit emoji. I almost feel like as the series went on, maybe KA was tired of it too. I'm glad that there are still really good books near the end, but so many stinkers too. Uncertain slash mouth face emoji. I don't know what you call that. I wonder what the
Mhm.
series would be like if it were written more like the popular trilogies of current YA trends. KA has done those types of books well, so maybe if given another chance in the series, she could really make up for all the ones that were a bit too creative zipper mouth emoji. I know it'll never happen, but I do wish for that alternate timeline sometimes. Maybe that would just ruin the fun of dumping on the crap books, though. LOL, shrug emoji. I don't know that there's much to say about this. I feel like some of this is stuff that we'll talk about a lot when it gets to the end of the
Mhm.
series, but we've also kind of covered the Animorphs fatigue talk lately, so I don't know if
Yeah.
any.
Also, the subject of like what happens if you rewrite it to remove the bad books is something we've talked about before too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel all of that.
But good, yeah, we feel it. All right, number three. Have you seen the cool alternative international covers from Vietnam? I think I remember you mentioning international covers before, but I can't remember hearing these ones specifically mentioned. I personally think they're the best covers, and I wish there were more of them. I think they stopped translating the books into that language or something and didn't get past the first few, unfortunately. And I'll send you, Lane provides a link where you can view a bunch of these Vietnamese covers of the Animorphs book series, and they are pretty fucking cool. um,
Yeah, these do rule a lot. I
if
gotta
people at
say.
home want to maybe just Google Vietnamese Animorphs covers, you'll probably see some of this, but they're very different. I mean, it's still people morphing into animals, but they're clearly more hand drawn. like sketchbook style, not attempting to be photorealistic in any way.
Mhm. And
Very,
they're very like bright flat
yeah,
backgrounds. Like here we in the American ones we get these like weird cloudy vivid colors, and here we're getting like you know maybe like bright green with like a tie-dye splash of yellow. Here's just bright red, bright blue. This one's sort of sky colored, but like not much detail. Yeah, I think they're striking visually for sure.
they're very fucking cool. Like these would make good posters.
Hmm.
The only problem with these is that they're not as funny.
That
Like they
is
don't
true.
look none of the morph transitions look stupid.
Yeah, I'm also noticing that there's sort of an action throughout the morph in all of these. Like they start in one pose and they end in another pose, and
Yeah.
and every single thing, whatever you call it, form in between is transitioning between the two motions as well. So it almost like
Yes.
if they hadn't exchanged bodies, they would still be doing the same kind of thing if you were trying to animate it. Unlike in these American covers where they kind of do the same pose beforehand as afterwards, and it makes them look kind of dumb.
Yeah, no, this is like there's action to it. There's movement.
Mhm.
You can see it looks like they are diving in midair and morphing as they dive. It's
Yeah,
it's much more
dynamic.
exciting. That's the word. Look at us, art critics.
That's us.
These
There's
are
this element of juxtaposition in these too. I've noticed.
yeah. I'm really personally I'm loving the chiaroscuro.
Wow. See, you were actually an art major, art
Yeah.
history major, so you know about all these words and stuff.
Yeah. Mhm. Should be yeah, it says that these are from the 2018 re-release, so there's only 12. I don't know if that's only how far they got, but that's too bad. All right, check those out. All right, finally, Lane's email here. Last point. Clarifying once again that tangents are okay with me. I only get tired of them when they don't really get to the point or otherwise circle the point endlessly. Beating a dead horse. Not Cassie's, of course. Clown emoji. Either way, you both keep doing you. Anyway, that's all for now. Your Yerky fan, Lane. Lane, I'm sorry, but it's too late. You will now forever be associated with hating tangents, and that's just what it is, and you're just going to have to suck it up.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, the cool thing about that is that that means that you're kind of a main character on the podcast now because we can reference you whenever we do it.
Yeah, it's the burden you've been forced to bear,
Hmm.
whether it's true or not.
Like
That's
Rachel.
funny. I get it. Yeah, I like
Thanks.
that. Now we have one final email here, which literally came in minutes before we started recording today.
Oh my god.
And we are recording late this week. Normally, this email wouldn't have come until next episode, but it made it just right down to the wire. Pretty exciting
we're
stuff.
we're doing it. If it's our longest episode ever, you'll know why.
Nah, we'll be fine. This one looks like we got another short band relay encrypted Yerk message. So you know
Oh
who that's
wow.
from.
I do. I don't really remember the rest of the story anymore. I'm gonna have to refresh myself before the end of the series.
Sure. Well, of course, this is Floom12191 who writes, Good cycle, and may the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. Today is an excellent day. I am in high spirits. My occupational stay on this backwater planet may be soon at its end. The focus of my ire, Subvisor 21, was recently grievously injured by his own taxon host. The fool must have never discovered the hibernation state. He's being transported off planet to an awaiting pool ship. This is my best and most viable chance at his destruction. Breaking character. This will be my final email. Not that I'm stopping my payments to Patreon. I'll be sending money there as long as you keep it up. I just want for once to release something to completion. So thanks for reading these. I'm sorry for the suffering you went through reading Destroyer Men. We'll explain that. They read more like textbooks than novels, or they read more like textbooks than novels. Returning to character. I'm not alone anymore. I picked up a hitchhiker and his two dogs. At first, I planned to fry them with my Dracon beam and take what they had, but he's honestly a wealth of knowledge about humanity, often talking in length about Sun Tzu to the point where he acts like he knew him. Zhu? Sun? Did I say that correctly?
I mean, certainly not, right? It's not like I can pronounce Chinese correctly.
Oh, I don't. I thought that's a common enough name that you would know what was proper. Zoo,
I'm sure
Sue.
that whatever is considered proper in America is not correct, so I don't feel comfortable trying to correct anyone.
All right, that's a change of pace for you. I never served in the war. I was a subvisor in charge of cleanup detail. It was my first moment in leadership as well as my last. We got lost in the sewers beneath a human city and were under strict orders not to leave any trace of our presence. So eating our way through the tunnels was not an option. We spent days down there, each of us starting to starve. I don't remember what I said to convince them to leave their hosts or how many Yerks were under my command, but do remember their taste, as well as their exhausted hosts. I should have died down in those tunnels, but somehow consuming my fellow subordinates sustained my Kandrona. It strengthened me. Now, in this clunky RV, not more than a mile away from the launch site, I see that dog loving vagabond of knowledge in the passenger seat. And as soon as I end this message, I'm going to press my host's ear to his and take him as my next residence. This is Flume12191 signing off. End of signal.
Very good.
Well, there you have it.
Should we clap for the story?
No.
Oh, okay.
I guess this is the conclusion of the Flume saga. It doesn't feel very definitive. Feels like there's more to say.
It's like a what is it, Stuart Little type of ending. He's on to another
Little
onto another adventure.
That's your go-to reference for an open ending. It's a Stuart Little type of ending.
To be perfectly honest, I don't know. That was the first thing that came to mind because when I was a kid, I was really upset that he just like went off on another adventure thing, and I wanted it to end like with an ending. I don't actually remember how it ends. I just remember that feeling.
Well,
listen, there's going to be a lot more hot episodes this summer, and if I get a little weird, well, what can I say?
This is bad because this is when we're going to be covering the last books of the series, which are pretty important. We need you to be at full capacity.
Uh-oh.
Anyway,
yeah, this is here's the thing. We're going to need, because it's been so long in between episodes for this story. I think that we should, or at least I should, take a look at these emails again so that when we do our season 4 recap, we can also do an Flume recap.
Good idea. We'll do a super cut of all the emails.
Smart.
People can catch up. Thanks, Flume, and thanks for mentioning our Patreon, which listeners can sign up for, patreon.com/theyerkyboys, where we did last week read a book called Firestorm, book number 6 of the Destroyermen series by Taylor Anderson. And we'll be talking about that more on next week's Patreon too, I think. This week's, I should say. And it wasn't a good book, but I will say if you enjoyed today's Animorphs book, The Deception, you might want to check out Firestorm by Taylor Anderson.
Thanks for bringing it up, Eflin, because I was probably going to bring it up. It's always kind of awkward when you want to bring up the Patreon in the main episode, right?
No.
Because like then if you're not paying, you don't necessarily know what we're talking about.
Right.
But I feel
that's
like
what makes them want to pay. Yeah, that's fair. That's what we're trying to. That's what we want.
Yeah, and if you want to be like all these people and get your email read on the air, you could email us yerkyboys@gmail.com.
Nope. The yerkyboys@gmail.com.
Yeah.
It's just that you need that article in there. The official title of the show. All right, thanks everybody. That's the end of the sharing. We can talk about the book now.
Hooray! That was a good sharing, I think.
It was a big one. It was a big one.
Yeah. This is actually a small one, though, this book. I don't know if you are aware of this, but this is the shortest Animorphs book.
Whoa. I don't know that I was aware of that.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it's by word count. Page count, I don't know if that's true. But
I got true.
Way back near the beginning of the series, I got like some charts that gave word counts for all the books, so I had some idea of what we were looking at because I'm a loser like that. And this is the shortest one. So last book was actually the 5th shortest book, and this book is a full 15% shorter than that one, if you want some statistics.
Wow. Well, Seropedia says 118 pages, which I feel like books average between like 125 to 150.
Mm.
So yeah, that number does seem low.
Well, this book has about 15K words according to my chart, and there are only 3 books with less than 18K words. And the
How
average is
many
probably closer to 20.
did it have a lot of F words?
Uh,
15K words.
uh-huh. Yeah, no, yeah, I get it. I get what you're doing.
So yeah, I mean, I now that you mention it, I suppose it did seem a little shorter, but also at the same time it didn't. So we can get into that.
Yeah, I would agree. And I do think some of it is just like, especially toward the end, you get a lot more pages where you just kind of have like short sentence line break, short sentence line break, sound effect line break, and you're kind of like, it feels like I'm only 3/4 of the way done with the book by page count, but you're actually 90% of the way through or something, right? Because
Hmm.
there's just, yeah, nothing happening.
I am very curious, at least I was before starting this episode, to hear your opinions on today's book.
Uh-huh.
Uh, we'll get into it, but it feels like I wasn't totally sure where you would land or if it was necessarily the
Mhm.
same place that I have landed, which is usually I don't even think about your opinion at all. I just disregard it. But
I think we're probably going to come to a similar conclusion. And I will say,
it sounds like it.
when like my memories of this book, going into it this week are the last section that we're going to talk about. Every single breaking point other than the very last one, I have no memory of, despite the fact that it's not like I don't skip the books like Lane does. So I've
Oh.
read it plenty of times. No memory, just kind of like, I don't know what happens, but that ending thing that happens in this book, I guess. That's it. So that, I mean, when that should give you some clue as to how I feel about the book as a whole, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, in some ways it does sort of feel like this could have been a footnote.
Mhm.
This could have been a Wikipedia summary.
It probably could have. And this is also something, and I feel like we should discuss this at some point. I don't really have fully formed opinions on it, but this is also something to think about while we're talking. This is the first sequence break. Um, so up until now,
Obviously I didn't notice. So
yeah,
continue.
Axe always has books on the eights, and Tobias has them on the threes. You know how it is. Everybody has them on their own. So
Sure.
book 46 should be a Jake book, right? Because he gets the
Oh.
sixes and ones. Jake comes post Marco. Um, don't say anything about my phrasing there.
I wasn't
Um,
gonna.
but this time it's Axe. So that is, I feel like that's a fairly deliberate choice. Especially given that
Oh.
last book is a pretty impactful book story wise, right? Like it's like everything's on its head, everything's changing. We've got, Marco's dad's freed, Marco's mom's freed, they're all in hiding. Visser 1's gone and Visser 3 might be promoted. The whole everything's going crazy. What the heck? There's this message at the end of the book, and then the next book, oh my god, it's supposed to be Jake, but it's actually Axe. What the heck's going on? So that is definitely intentional. That this book is supposed to like kind of fill that role of turning everything on its head, and they chose Axe to do it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean now that you mention it, it does seem like, oh, we didn't have a Tobias book that long ago.
mhm.
So, but I definitely didn't. As you know, I'm not aware of the character order.
Yeah, I've brought it up a million times. It's very simple,
Yeah.
but it
No,
doesn't stick in that head of
I
yours.
know it exists, but I just don't. It's just not something I remember. Like I just don't remember what it is. I'm
Sure.
like, oh, an axe book, sure. Like I didn't question it at all. Is it? I mean, I like that in the sense that I kind of wish they felt the freedom to do this throughout the whole series. I
Hmm.
think sometimes the stories are hurt by the fact that they must be a certain POV when sometimes it's like I would really much rather go back to Rachel right now or whoever it is.
Hmm.
But then I also am like, well, how do you, because you don't want to, like every kid's going to have their favorite character and it would suck if you don't get, well, it's already sucks if you're like Tobias or Axe, I guess, but screw those kids. um, but so that's interesting, and I kind of like that they're doing that. The fact that it's Axe, we'll talk about it.
Hmm.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
But why don't we look at this cover?
Yeah. Oh, and I should mention the ghostwriter. We
Oh,
always do
right, of
that, right?
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So the ghostwriter for this is Elise Donner. She has one other
Elise
book.
Donner Dodd.
I think you made that same joke last time, but I don't quite remember. So that was book 30, which was the one where Marco turned into a cockroach and tried to kill his mom. Uh,
Yeah.
I looked back at my notes on that, and what I found was that I didn't really do a good job researching her. And I think, as I recall, I didn't really do it last time, and you had done some research, and I didn't follow up or listen to that episode. So I'm wondering if you remember anything about her.
No, I didn't. I didn't look up the. I figured, well, we already said whatever
Okay,
she did, so I didn't look that up. We don't repeat
go
that part.
go back and listen to that episode if you want to remember what anything about her whatsoever.
Well, I did go back and have to look up um that her last book. What was it called? It's book 30. I don't know what it's called. Marco's a cockroach.
I
And
should know it, but
well, I could quickly find out. It was
it's the
the
reunion.
reunion. There you go. And then I looked at where it was in our rankings, our tier list, because I did not. I was like, I think
Hmm.
I liked that one, but I couldn't really remember.
Mm-hmm.
And we gave it like a high B. It was in the B tier, but I think it was like our favorite B tier of the season.
Yeah, as I recall, I dropped my opinion of it rereading it for this series, but it had been one of my favorites before this reread, so it was still B sounds right.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see her second and final book. We'll see if she can live up to that B.
Buzz buzz. All right.
Great.
Yeah, so that's that. So now we can do this cover.
Yeah, the
Can I
deception. Mm-hmm.
I almost want to jump straight to the quote because
Yeah. I get that.
this is an enormous deal to me.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if this is unprecedented, but it feels unprecedented. So the quote on the cover is, "The Animorphs have never met Visser 2 until now." And what you
Oh,
might notice is that there's no dot dot dot.
holy fuck.
Is that Have they done this before? They
No,
must have done this before, right?
no,
It must have
no.
happened. It
There's
must have.
no way. I would remember. There has never been a dotless cover. That's insane.
It is, I mean, it's freaking me out. But in my brain, I just think one of these descriptive things must have been like that, right? It must have. Maybe like one had a question mark or something. I mean, this one's just a
No.
period, though. It's not even like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But what's also crazy about it is that this, if anything, deserves an ellipsis. It's this right here. It feels
Yeah.
like it should have until now. Dot dot dot. Why the fuck?
Yeah.
Why did they not do it?
Until now is like the phrase to put a dot 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 after, right? That's,
I
yeah.
mean, the only thing more egregious would be if it just said until. That would make sense.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's something.
It is frickin'
Wow.
wild.
That's
Also, something about Visser too. We'll get there.
maybe that's what so when there's 4 dots, maybe they put extras on those books so that they wouldn't have to put any dots on later ones. So in the end, it'll even out to just 3
Oh,
dots per book.
yeah. Yeah, they ran out of their. Maybe they used it up. Maybe they thought they had infinite dots. And then Scholastic came in, was like, oh no, you're over quota. You've been doing the quad dot too much. Now
No
they're
dots
in
this book.
crisis mode.
None. I will just say about the quote. It's another one of those something about the actual content of the book, an exciting tease, which does at this, like you said, last book we're getting very plot driven. Things are really moving, so that's kind of an exciting hook. I do not look at the covers really usually before reading these for the first time, as I am.
Yes. Now
I will.
You did know from the end of last episode that Axe
Right.
does turn into a jet pilot.
Right. I did know that, but in terms, I will just say, if I had read this quote before
Mhm.
reading this book, I would be probably mad.
Mm.
And we can talk about that as we get into it. It's not
Uh-huh.
I suppose it's an accurate quote, but
Yeah.
that's about all
Visser
it is.
2. Yeah. I mean, look, that's like part of the gimmick here. It's the back of the book is about Visser 2. Presumably the preview chapter last time was about Visser 2. What's the
Yeah.
inside covers? Does it have no, it doesn't say anything about Visser 2 on the inside cover. But like
We did
that is
a
as a kid you're supposed to be sitting here like, "Oh man, I don't know."
Yeah, we did a couple episodes about Visser too.
What?
Remember?
No.
We had a couple episodes at the end of last season about Visser too.
I don't remember what you're talking about.
The book Visser, we did episodes about that too.
Oh, I see. I get it. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So anyway, Axe
Yeah.
is turning into a jet pilot,
Yeah.
a fighter pilot. What is he?
Yeah. I don't
It's
know. He's one of those things.
it's not the first because of Jake, but it must be, well, I guess if you count Tobias becoming a boy, but otherwise it's probably the second cover of someone turning into a human.
I mean, it's the second cover of Axe turning into a human
Well, he turned into a human. He turned into
on his first book.
himself.
Yeah, his himself on his
Uh,
first book. But
okay, but it still feels, it's a bit stranger here. It's not the usual. It's not quote unquote himself. It's just a guy. I mean, that's true of
his
even Jake's. This is the only cover so far, I'm assuming the only one, where you're turning into a human that is not themself or an extension of themself.
that I think is true.
Yeah, like this is just some dude.
Can I just say both these poses are goofy? Like Axe is posed goofy as an Andalite so that he can have the same pose as the fighter pilot who is posed goofy.
Isn't that just Axe's pose he always has? That's just
Just
generic Axe.
he just looks goofy to me is all.
It
Like
just looks like,
it's too stiff.
yeah, I just feel like they took this from somewhere else. I mean, I already don't like the new Axe model. I think the old one was better.
Uh-huh. It's the haircut, isn't it?
Yeah, the haircut, the stocks are too long. Fuck, what was it? I don't remember what it's called. When
Oh
they get a
yeah, that
haircut.
thing.
Not a
I need to
shorm, something like that.
it's not a shorm, that's Tobias.
I know, but it's like it's like one syllable, it's like a shear or something. Something. I think. It
Yeah,
doesn't
something.
matter. I like that his eye stalks just turn, like his head just turns right into the helmet of the guy.
Yeah, that's pretty good. His head looks like kind of shiny at the beginning there.
Yeah, it's looking like he gets like a Buzz Lightyear style, that weird purple cap he has underneath the helmet in Toy Story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's turning like a nice shade of green. I guess maybe they reused this outfit from the Jake cover when he went to the future, because it's a similar sort of a jumpsuit thing.
It's an unsweet, by the way, is the shame
Thank
haircut.
you. Thank you. I knew there was like a sh in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Now these middle form legs, gotta point him out. Because I'm really loving him. He's still got 4 legs, and
Four
they're
legs
kind of
good.
in between horse legs and pants. So they kind of got the bagginess of the pants, but they're still like defined as though they have like tendons and muscles, so they're just like real legs.
Mm.
They
Yeah.
look silly. I'm really digging them.
I like when he just looks like a regular human, but he just has 4 legs and a little tail
That's pretty good too.
and 2 little nubs on his helmet.
I think this is one of the better inner flips.
All right, let's check it out.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Wait, the picture?
Like in the bottom corner where you
Oh,
flip
you're talking
it.
about the flip book.
Yeah, and you see and you
The
just see him
little
transform
animation.
from Axe into that guy.
Sometimes
just
those
kinda
do
silly looking.
show up on Seropedia, but I don't see it here. No, that's
It's
fine. I thought you meant
Um,
like when you flip to the inside cover.
oh no, well we can do that. I think I don't know. I'm done with this outer cover.
Yeah, I'm also done with the inner cover.
Now in the inner cover it says prepare for takeoff, and this time we do get 3 dots.
Okay.
Um, and then here's Axe. There's a fighter plane. There's some fighter planes in the air. This is really where this human morph looks goofy as all hell.
Yeah, there's something about this helmet which I assume is what they really look like, or at least did. But the big dumb visor that just
Uh
looks
huh.
really stupid on his face.
I thought you were going to be like, it's like Rogue Squadron in Star Wars.
It is kind of like that, except that those look cool to me for some. This doesn't look
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, I don't know. It's just like he looks. The way that he's like, this is not a stride you would be in if you were walking or running. He's like doing this weird little, almost half jog, but he's like moving his body like a cartoon character animated at like 5 frames a second or something.
Yeah, he's got his fists up like he's. I don't know why your fists would be balled up like that as you are just walking or whatever he's doing.
He's also moving away from this plane, which I don't. I feel like in every instance when he's a jet pilot, he's like trying to get into the plane.
Well, he wants a different one.
Yeah, not that one, please.
Maybe the issue with the helmet is that he doesn't have the face mask on. Like I feel like that
Mm,
completes the look, and without it, it looks like he's got almost like a superhero mask that only covers your eyes. Like it's just kind of silly looking. Looks like a
yeah, yeah.
Joel Schumacher Batman or something.
Yeah, I don't think that helmet's all that useful without the mask, because otherwise, I mean, what's it doing? Protecting your eyes? You already got the cockpit. I don't
Right.
know. I don't know about planes. I'm not a pilot.
This is a real missed opportunity to me. I unless you tell me otherwise, I don't think Orson is sitting in the pilot seat of that plane.
Oh, oh, there is an Orson watch.
No, no, hold on. I want to find him. I was looking for him.
I'll give you a clue. He's not a cat. It's not a
What the
picture of a
fuck?
cat.
What the fuck? This sucks. Oh, does it say Captain or it says Captain Orson on the
It
plane?
does. It does. And I think it also says like Captain Mattingly too.
Oh, yes, that's I couldn't read the top line. Captain David Mattingly. Yep.
Mm, there it is.
Wow.
That's
Why?
the
Because
Orson watch.
of course all fighter planes have the names of two captains embroidered on the side. Embroidered? The fuck's wrong with me? Whatever. I
I
don't
mean,
know what they
listen,
do.
I feel like you're more likely to see a decal of a cat on a plane than a stamp that just tells you who's flying it, right?
Yeah,
Like
because
they, they
I don't think you are signed one plane that's yours. Like they just give you whatever they
yeah.
have.
Like it wasn't that like the whole Kilroy thing is they'd put like Kilroy and a naked lady on the plane? That could be Orson on the plane.
I just know he was here.
I don't know. Listen, there's an Orson. That's always good.
Okay,
I'm
we
always
spent way
happy
too
with an
much
Orson.
time on this inside cover. It's boring. Let's start the book.
Okay. So I don't know if you recall where we were last book. But at the end of last book, we had a scene where Axe took his transponder, his Z-space transponder that he just made with Marco's dad, and he called up the Andalite fleet. And Jake stood forward and was like, "Hi, I'm Jake of Earth," or whatever. And that's where we ended. It was a big climactic thing. So this book begins right at that exact moment where the last book left off. Jake, is there and he introduces himself and the human resistance. And he tells the Andalite on the other end about the information that they got from Visser 1 that the Anadi world is a trap. The fleet is gonna get like Dracon from the moon if they move in there. Uh, yeah, and that they should send, potentially, and that they on Earth need help as well. The Andalite on the other end doesn't believe him, and he's like, "I don't know about this. I think you just want us to send the fleet over to Earth to help yourself." Um, and then that's when a bunch of bug fighters show up, and they're forced to cut the transmission and leave.
We lost the
Um,
transmission, sir. They probably said
it can't
that.
just be careful.
Well,
with that
I'm just
accent.
that's not that's an alien accent.
Right. And
We
yeah,
lost the
anyway,
transmission, sir.
so how so this let's just talk about this opening bit here, this continuation of this before we get to the my name is X.
Pretty exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
we were both pretty high on last week's book,
Hmm.
and the excited about the momentum of the story finally taking off. And to before I really started reading it, I just like kind of glanced at the beginning and just seeing that, oh, it kicks off right where we left off. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, cuz I don't know. If again, first time reader, I don't
Hmm.
know. Maybe I assume we're really kicking into high gear now, but there could have just been another book that doesn't matter here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, never underestimate the ability of K. Applegate to just insert another book that doesn't matter for no reason.
Yeah, and I'm still wondering. It seems like, as I was reading this, I was like, wow, things are really moving still. Is there even,
Hmm.
are we done with filler books? Like, is there room for that still in the final stretch? It
It,
seems like there isn't, but I
it
could be
seems
wrong.
like there isn't, but there's also 10 books left almost.
Yeah,
Not quite, but
right. Yeah, but I assume, like, well, anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll find out,
mhm,
but that's the feeling that I get.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is exciting, and I'm not going to complain about not starting with a "My name is X" this time, since we are actively like doing a picked up where we left off type of thing.
It
Yeah,
almost
I
just
think.
reads like this chapter was from the end of the first book, and then chapter 2 is the real first chapter of this book.
Mhm. But I think that's cool. It gives, as you said, it gives it a sense that things are really kicking off. Right, we're getting into serious territory, and the books are actually going to be like following a narrative, as opposed to just like here's another episode.
There's also a lot of references in this book to previous books.
Hmm.
Like right here, X
Yes.
talks about all the times he has communicated with his homeworld, which again gives the feeling that we're really building towards something, or at least that Elise Navidad did her homework. Uh, which is another tough thing I think too, coming into this book right here, having not written something for 16 books.
Hmm.
How is it difficult for Elise? Like, did she have to go back and read all those? Has she been reading all those? Maybe she's just an editor sometimes of the Animorphs books in the office, and so she's aware of the situation. I don't know. It's a lot of pressure, I feel like, riding on these ghostwriters at this point when they have to be juggling all these plots. Because there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know if you're a ghostwriter. And we don't know still. Like
we
we've
don't know.
heard Michael Grant say. I think we actually read that on the bit where he was just like, yeah, we don't really give him good good outlines, or we didn't really give him good
Yeah.
outlines. Yeah, hard to say. Maybe it's better when it's supposed to be a big plot book. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Did I know that the the Anadi homeworld was just a big trap, and I just forgot? Did they say that in the last book? Or did
It's so inconsistent because in Visser they say like the whole point is to redirect them. Like what we want is a victory on Earth. The Andalites are supposed to go to Anadi, right? Because that way their troops are diverted, and presumably they're gonna try to like trap them there or do something. Um, and then we heard that it was going badly in book 43, and then last book Visser 1 is being executed because she fucked it up and it's not working. And now the Animorphs, I guess, talked to Ava and they're like, okay, it's a trap, so you guys should know it's a big trap. So is there a chance it could still go well and they just executed her anyway, or did it already happen? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure that anyone really knows what's going on the Anadi homeworld other than a diversion.
so yeah, like can you even explain to me what what is the diversion? Like is the Anadi another race and the Andalites want to stop the Yerks from taking over them? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I mean, presumably, right? Like the idea is that like they know there's some high value targets that Earth and Anadi planet and in Nine Sifter. So the Andalites have to make a decision, and the Yeerks want it to be a Nadi because the Yeerks want it to be Earth, right? I don't know. That makes sense to me, but
Yeah, it makes
uh,
sense. I just feel like they're so vague, and also I mean they
yeah,
didn't mention it for like 8 books, which doesn't
yeah.
help. So
And I'm convinced that what I just said is like the absolute entirety of all the information we like have on it. So,
it simultaneously should be very important and isn't at all.
mhm.
It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, which is kind of too bad because it is. I do think it's really interesting. I like. I don't know. It's cooler when there's all these alien planets. Maybe
No,
the
if
tactics are more interesting from that perspective, but
if this were a TV show, I think we'd be cutting back. I would want to be cutting back to the Anati homeworld and seeing what Visser One's doing every week. Or
yeah,
like
that
give us a whole spin-off. Give me a mini series about her, what she's doing over there. Like that's
yeah.
cool. But
Even just like a 30-second shot of Andalites beating a bunch of Yerks and Visser One being like, "Oh no, blast!" and then now we know that at some point there's going to be consequences for her.
yeah. Well, there were.
There were. Um,
um Andalites are
yeah, I mean,
dicks.
yes, that's true. Uh,
That's actually a
yeah,
pretty big theme in this book, but yeah,
that's
so
a pretty big that's a pretty big theme in this book, and I think that's just a general theme of the series.
yeah, right.
Um, it is a little bit sad that you're too old and cynical to have had like the full arc, because like as I recall, like right
Hmm.
off the bat, you were like, these Andalites are kind of dicks. So you don't get the full sense of like, you come in as a kid and you're like, the Andalites, they're the heroes, they're gonna save the day, and then more and more and more instances of like, the Andalites genocided the Hork-Bajir. The Andalites aren't listening to Axe. They tried to genocide us again. They aren't listening again. They're just not going to be good, are they? Like the kind of
Yeah.
crushing disappointment you feel when you're 10 years old is you've already
Yeah.
had it crushed out of you by life.
That's accurate. I mean I have vague memories of liking Andalites when I was a kid. With reading the early books, but yeah, I certainly didn't.
Mhm.
You know, it's still well, it hits, but I guess it's as you said, it kind of hit a long time. I feel like we crossed that threshold pretty early on,
Mhm.
but maybe not quite as obviously. But here it's like, okay, we're really even Axe is like Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know if it's at this point, but there are multiple points in this book where Jake's like, are the Andalites even going to come help at all? And Axe is like, man, I wish I could say yes, but I have no idea.
Yeah, yeah.
They do the Andalites also question Axe's loyalties here too. When Axe is like, maybe they'll trust me because I'm a fellow Andalite when I say they need to come here, and the Andalites are just like, I don't know, Axe. I think you might have gone native. And I think that
Mm.
comes up a couple point times throughout this where Axe is really like questioning, like where do his loyalties lie. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing in book 38 for Axe to say, at the end of the day, I believe in the humans and I'm gonna like do what's best for them. And in this book, there's almost like this question of like, would I even fit in on Andalite society anymore? Like, what happens when the war is over? I guess am I just gonna be like ambassador to Earth or something? Because like he really is going native.
Yes, and that will be something that he talks about much more thoroughly as we go.
Hmm.
Um, you know what it reminds me of? The end of the last book was getting to Octo and finding Luke.
Isn't it just Octu?
I thought it was T-O.
Yeah, but like I thought it was still pronounced to like to do.
Oh,
I
is
don't
it?
know.
Well, just let me make my stupid
Maybe
fucking.
maybe I just thought that because it would sound dumber if that's how it was pronounced.
And
Or
then
like O2.
the beginning of this book is him tossing the lightsaber away. Right? At the start of Return of the Jedi, or sorry, Last Jedi. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you had like the triumphant, like they made contact, and this is the Andalites being like, no, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Only I
I feel
like when
like
Luke did it. I didn't like it here.
I don't mind it here, but yeah, I liked it a lot better when Luke did it.
Yeah, I
If you
don't. I
don't
guess I
like
don't mind
when Luke
it.
tossed the lightsaber, by the way, you can stop listening to the podcast right now.
I think we already cleared those folks out early on.
Okay, good.
I don't know why. I don't remember them saying it in the movie. I'm trying to find a pronunciation guide.
Yeah, that's a worthwhile use of time. So here's uh here's a question. I mean, I guess this sort of is. I don't know if this is really in this section or if it's leading into the next one, but like, here's a question: how do we, as a story, feel about fucking Visser 3 and or Visser 1? Like, at the beginning of this, there's this idea where they're like, okay, we have to remember how they said Visser 3 might be promoted to Visser 1. Well, we're gonna have to stop him, and then just immediately the book is gonna be like, yeah, he already got promoted. Whatever, that's not the plot line. We don't. That's already what it is. That feels like a like meta extension of the characters not knowing what to do. It feels like as a writer, K.A. Applegate has no idea like, what is it? Is it good that he's in charge? Is it bad? Do they have to stop him? And I don't know. He's just there. It
I am
feels
a
like,
little.
yeah,
Yeah, it's. I was confused initially because they're like, we don't even know what's going on with who's Visser now. When I thought last book, it was kind of seemed confirmed that Visser 3 was Visser 1. Or
yeah,
maybe that
and
was
then,
just our conversation.
yeah, I don't know. But then immediately here, it's just like, yeah, he is Visser 1. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's yeah. I don't know. Is Visser 3 even in this book? He's
No,
not.
he's not actually.
No, he's not. So whatever. Who
he,
cares?
yeah, Visser 1. We're gonna have to get used to saying Visser 1 now.
I I don't. I mean, look. I was gonna bring this up later, but it's fine right now. I
Hmm.
doesn't. I mean, I've probably said this same hacky Seinfeld bit before, but doesn't this get confusing? You're passing around your office memos, and it's like every week a new thing's got to go out. Visser 12 is now who used to be Visser 14, and Visser 14 is Visser 13. It's like, what? Just that's a stupid fucking naming convention. There's got to be a better way to figure this out. How about you call them Visser 2 Esplin or whatever the fuck their names are? Like, just say they're fucking. They have names. They have fucking names. Say Visser.
Yeah.
This is Visser Esplin. Done.
Yeah, like just give them real ranks and not the like we don't have
Right.
General 1, General 2 and General 1 is better than
Right.
General 2. Just be like, yeah,
Right.
these are the sub vissers, the vissers and maybe there's like 5 uber vissers or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like you said with Esplin or if you must have a number because that's how they are, just call them 9466 or something. You
Yerks are
know?
fucking stupid sometimes. I was
Well,
about
we
to make
can
a.
say it cuz we're the Yerky boys, but
Yeah, of
it'd be kind
course.
of racist if somebody else. What were you going to say?
I'm glad you said General 1 and 2 because I was about to say like Darth 1 and Darth 2. And then I was like, oh, right. There's real, in the real life, you can also reference things too,
I wish
not
I'd
just
said
Star
Darth. I would
Wars.
have been happier.
Okay. I mean, by the way, but to circle back to Star Wars, I did look up how it's pronounced.
Okay.
This is for you, Lane. It looks like there's a split here. Now, this Reddit thread is from 7 years ago. There are a lot of people saying TOO, but there are a couple people saying TOE as well. And some people also arguing whether or not the first part is pronounced like "och" or "ack" or "och." And I don't know. This might be one of those things in Star Wars where no one actually, there's not actually a way to pronounce it, and no one ever really decided.
Hey, is Lucas still Word of God, or would that be Ryan Johnson for this
That
one?
would be Ryan Johnson in this case, but I don't remember. There must be a clip of someone saying it in the movie, right? Or is it
Oh,
just written on screen?
I'm pretty sure it's just not in the movie. I
Oh
might be
well.
wrong. Uh, all
Anyway,
right. Do we want to move to this next bit?
yeah,
Okay. So yeah, so they had to scatter um from the thing because the bug fighter showed up. So end transmission. Uh they head back and to I guess Axe's scoop. You know what? I'm not actually sure where they
yeah.
head back to.
No,
But
he
they
says, yeah, they're in his scoop.
okay. And they're listening in on the transponder again because they can pick up bits of Yerk communications and they hear kind of a snippet that sounds pretty important. So Axe decides to hack into the NSA, because if he can use their computing power, then he can run his translation program and actually understand the full message. So they get that and they find out that Visser 2 from the cover is here on Earth to assist the new Visser 1, who is the old Visser 3, with what is being referred to as Operation 9466, which is
Hmm.
some kind of military action. And they also get a set of coordinates and times. Um, so they're like, we got to deal with this. It turns out these coordinates are in the middle of the ocean, and it is not that far away. Like it is same day, middle of the Pacific Ocean, and they're like, well, there's really nothing that can cover that distance in that time except for a human. So they decide they're going to break their rules, Cassie's long-standing rules about acquiring people, and they're going to break their rules about like stealing and stuff. And the plan is that they're going to steal a military jet and fly out there. Um, so that is going to be the plot of this book. They got to fly out to wherever this Operation 9466 is taking place.
I feel like
Um,
you just covered a fairly big chunk of the book. Like we said, it's a shorter one.
yeah,
But
I guess. I mean, I don't want to talk about them actually stealing the plane yet.
right.
Yeah, I do think these sections are fairly large, but
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I guess
I,
it's just
I
our
mean,
first one was short, so
yeah, the first one was very, very short. And
that's
I
why
will
we
say,
only spent 20 minutes on it.
I do feel like this book has similar things going on to book 39 and book 44 in the sense of like from this point forward, it kind of all feels like one continuous like scene into
Yeah,
scene into scene. Like
yeah.
after this section, they're going to start going and they're just going to keep going. There's not going to be breaks or time skips or whatever. It's like the entire book is just one big scene. Um, we'll break it up, but like that's the thing that's going on here that I think also contributes to me maybe not being as big a fan of this book because there's a part of my brain that just wants it to break and take a rest.
Yeah, which is what how we said as much during the kangaroo book that
Hmm.
it just never stops. It's just and not only does it never stop, but it's a lot of this book we'll get to later is in basically one location.
Yeah,
That's so that's just kind of not usually great for pacing and story structure
yeah.
unless you're like really going for something, which I don't think they are. But at the beginning of this scene, I do like Marco, Tobias, and Axe hanging out. It feels like this is Du Bois
Hmm. Hmm.
watching TV and chilling, grabbing a beer.
They do seem like they're having fun.
Yeah, they're having a good time. I like to see it. Jake's not invited. He's too serious now.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I wonder if Jake's still Marco's best friend now that he's too serious.
Yeah, I think he's like, I'm like hanging out with Axe. He has cinnamon buns, and Tobias flies in, and I can make fun of him for being a bird. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. I would
I'm
hang
trying to
out
play
with these
Doom
guys.
with Jake, and then Jake's like talking about the horrors of war and shit, and I'm like, God damn, Jake.
He's talking about specs on a ship that he read on Wikipedia.
Yeah, we'll again we'll we'll get to that too.
We sure will.
Um, I mean, I like that Marco has this little thing about wake up. The sheep will need to wake up.
Hmm. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
That
that to me, I don't know how much of because he says a whole thing where he's like people are complacent. Everybody thinks that all out global warfare is a thing of the past. Um, and I don't know how much of that is just a like continuous American thing because like we don't actually have our wars on our own soil, so we're always very disconnected from it even when it is happening. And I don't know how much of it is like a thing of its time. Well, no, that can't be true. I was going to say a thing of its time either cuz like I remember just how fucking insane I thought it was when Ukraine started and I was just like, "Oh my god, there is an honest to god like land war with actual fucking dog fighting and shit happening in Europe right now. This does not feel like this feels like something from 100 years ago. What the hell is this? But like, I guess like Bosnia and shit was happening around the time this book was written too. So it's I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying.
I I like what you're saying. I do think that this book would be very different if released on the post-anniversary of 9/11 and not the pre-anniversary.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh, it does feel. The thing is, a lot of what he's saying about America's too complacent, I feel like I have had or read that discussion in regards to more of a like revolting against our own government
Hmm.
or the rich or what have you,
Hmm.
as opposed to the like being afraid of some kind of invasion or just global warfare. But I think like both are along similar lines valid. And I'm reading this now and thinking about the rest of the book. I am wondering, was this just written by a Republican? Is there a little bit of like, we all need to be ready. We all should have guns. They're coming. I don't know who they are, but they're coming. And know your fighter jets, people, because that they're coming.
I
I
was
don't
getting a
know.
little bit more neolib vibes from this,
Sure. I mean,
but
look,
I hear exactly where you're coming from,
yeah, okay, sure. Call it
uh,
whatever you want, but
based
it,
on later stuff in the book, more. But yeah, because I do think that that becomes a kind of a something worth talking about, like this very, I don't know, simplistic understanding of geopolitics. I think comes into play later on. Uh, like the same sort of thing that Marco is complaining about here. Not that I'm like some fucking expert, but like I don't think that this lady is either. I'll tell you that much.
along those same lines, you also have their plan to hack the NSA.
Yeah,
And it really feels like an editor went in there and made them really emphasize that, hey, kids at home, it sure is illegal to hack the government. Don't do it.
don't do that. Yeah, they have a whole conversation about it, which is like very out of character for Marco to care about that. And Axe calls him out on it, and Marco's like, huh, fine. I can't believe you're using my own words from last book against me. And it's like, yeah, I can. Why'd you. It's relevant. You shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. 'Cause
Hmm.
it's also not like what do they think? Like a kid can't do this. what are they
I don't.
what are they
I don't
worried
know,
about?
man. Like, I feel like all the time you hear about some weird shut-in prodigy coder
Well,
kid who's like
remember,
14 who just like hacked into a government server and was like, yeah, it turns out that nobody who runs anything in the world does a good job at it, which turns
but
out is true.
were they doing that in the year 2000 though, when like kids were just learning HTML and shit? Like it
I
wasn't
feel like
exactly.
I feel like there were fewer people doing it, but they were more successful because people like the NSA didn't know what they were doing.
Perhaps, perhaps. But regardless, it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
A bit strange.
I do want to say about that bit though, um they make such a huge deal about it. Like it's this big thing they got to do.
Hmm.
And it's sort of thematically relevant to the book, this idea that we're going to keep coming back to of like when do you cross the line from this into this, right? Like at what point does it become necessary to take unethical action because the alternative is too dire, right? In this kind of war situation. So it feels like it's this big important thing, and then Axe just kind of does it, and it doesn't really feel impactful. It doesn't really feel like he did anything. It doesn't really come up like when I'm reading it, I don't like feel any emotion when he does it. I just feel like, yep, and then he hacked the NSA. That's the plot point. I don't feel it.
What did
Um
they? This is how they find the coordinates, or
uh
this is what does this even do for them?
my understanding is that Axe is working off of like civilian computing tech, and even though he's got his good Andalite like codes, he can't get them to run properly on our shitty computers. So he's hijacking the government level like computing supercomputer powers so he can translate or something.
Okay, it does. It feels like you could
He's mining
easily.
Bitcoin from the NSA.
If you just excised this section, I wouldn't be like, huh? But how do they know how to go there? Like, it doesn't feel
Yeah.
even needed.
Yeah, you could literally just have it be like, and then we got that snippet, or and Axe figured out how to make the translating work now, or something.
Yeah, I guess you can't rely on Marco's dad anymore, um, since they lost like his computer stuff. I feel like Axe has used that a couple times.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I guess they've already used all of his knowledge in making this thing. I don't
who,
know.
by the way, we don't check in with in this book, which would have been nice.
Yeah, listen, he's off with is he with the Hork-Bajir now?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And Marco doesn't want to hang out there cuz I don't know. His dad's lame and Hork-Bajir are dumb.
He's like, oh, I don't want to. I don't want to hang out with Nora. It's awkward. Oh no, wait, she's a Yerk. Sorry, I
Yeah, I was
forgot.
gonna say maybe he feels weird about what he did to Nora. He's like, I don't feel comfortable being around my mom and dad. Got to
Can
go
we
with the
talk about
boys.
Axe a little bit? Because let me tell
Sure.
you, as we were talking about before, about character POVs and how much a book is written for one character.
Mhm.
In spite of this book, especially in the last third, maybe even the second half, being pretty Axe centric and
Mhm.
Axe specific, at this point, like up in the first few scenes, there were multiple times where I forgot that this was an Axe book.
I
Like,
think it's easy to forget that, which is kind of crazy consider like there are going to be even points during the action scenes later on. I feel like there's times where he's just like, and then I hit him with my tail blade, and like in my brain, it could have easily been like Axe hit him with his tail brain. Oh my god,
oh
my
boy,
brain is gone.
you got
But
fucking yam fut over there.
I do. I got the yam foot.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like, well, I don't know. Part of it maybe is there's a lot of group scenes and a lot of
mhm.
descriptions of just Marco did this, Tobias did this, and then I'm just like stuff happening, and then all of a sudden Axe will be like, "Oh yeah, and I have stock eyes by the way," and I'm like, "Oh right, Axe, right." I don't know. It just doesn't feel very tailored to him.
I mean, do you
Tailored.
think that the reason they do the Axe book here is just that kids liked Axe and were unhappy seeing him only every 10th book, so they were like, now that's our chance to break the order. Let's just put more Axe books in, like as opposed to any real character reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like it should matter. I mean, this story is about the specific book story. I mean, is about him and his personal shit, but does it have to be about that? Not
Hmm.
really. Could be anybody if you just swapped out some of their dilemmas. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's
yeah.
strange.
I
Uh
don't know.
it is very but the other thing about Axe in this book, once you speaking of his shit,
Hmm.
this thing about his like you were saying before, his conflict between feeling like he doesn't quite fit in with the humans or the Andalites, which we have brought up before, but I kind of feel like it was you who brought it up mostly. And I kind of feel like maybe it was
Hmm.
because of this book or later books. And I don't think that they have really done a good job establishing that conflict in him before now. Maybe in the one with the where the Andalites come visit, I guess that came into play, but it feels a little like all of a sudden. And again, I say again too much, but again, part of the problem is just that there aren't as many Axe books, so I
Hmm.
just forget. But it does feel kind of like not out of nowhere, but it seems like this is now his central issue when I don't remember it ever being that central before, and it's a little jarring.
Yeah, I think in retrospect it is his central issue, but it's not his central issue until retrospectively, right? Because
Mm.
like in book 8, he does spend most of the book being like, I don't want to tell them about Ciro's kindness because then whatever, and then at the end he's like, all right, I'm part of the group, I won't keep secrets anymore. And then in book 18, he gets with the new Andalites and he immediately is just like, well, time to be loyal to them, and then that fucks him over. And then book 38, there's the question of what's going to happen. He's like, now I'm with the humans all the way. Like, I feel like there is an arc there, but I almost feel like they establish it as being an arc late in the series, and you can read the beginning tale of that Like, you know what I mean? Whereas if you're just reading those first couple books, the arc, it feels like what the arc should be is closer to what you were saying you thought it was going to be, which was about avenging Elfangor. And yeah, when you get to these later books, Elfangor almost doesn't matter to Axe, right? It's just like, yep, there's Visser 1. He's the abomination. Am I worried about revenge for my brother? Not really.
Yeah. We're over that.
Yeah.
If it happens, it happens.
Um, on the morality aspect, because they do some talking here, because they're gonna start stealing from the military and morphing people without their consent and doing all of that stuff here.
Yeah.
There is one line here I really really like, and of course it's a fucking Cassie line, right? Where Jake's like, listen, we had our rules, but now we gotta give them up. And Cassie says, the quote is, Jake, there's always a reason to abandon morality. And I really like that. I really like this idea that, like, if, it's not good enough to just say that there is a good reason to do it, because there's always a reason to do it, right? So, like, if
Mhm.
you let yourself start doing it, then it's good because like, you can't deny that there are times when it is necessary, but you also can't deny that, like, you can always find an excuse. So it's a difficult question. It's an unanswerable question. And I really like that a lot.
See, the
Um,
line that I liked was when Rachel says, self-defense is always justified.
yeah, I mean that is a Rachel line.
Yeah, I mean, we're really getting to it. Like, this thing that we
Hmm.
haven't talked about since it feels like the like early books,
Hmm.
where Cassie would be like, "Oh, don't no humans, please. That's no." And now they're just like, "Okay, we're fucking doing it. Shut the fuck
Hmm.
up, Cassie."
Hmm.
Shit just got real. We have to do this. And Cassie is all, this makes me sad, but okay, I'll just hang out, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's we're having that big discussion now. We're going to see how it plays out in this book. Really I don't know that
Yeah,
it lives up to the potential of that conversation.
I do think that this book tries to present a trolley problem, and then kind of what it ends up doing is defining it, and then being like, oh, I did it, I did the trolley problem, and then, like, it doesn't really feel like it pays off for having done it. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, it is. I'm glad we're starting to get into this, because I do think, like, this theme to me is, like, core to what makes Animorphs interesting and what I like about it. So I do like it when it's touched on, even in the books that I don't click with. I do think that and I also like that this kind of calls back to a quote that I really love from book 19, because it's the same conundrum, right? At the end of book 19, Jake has a great line where he's saying, like, um sometimes you have to do the smart, rational, correct, ruthless thing, and sometimes you have to take the crazy one in a million shot where you just try to be nice and hope it works out. And you can't just pick one of those options and stick with it. You have to remake that decision every single time. And I really like that bit. I don't have the exact quote here. Um,
I think that was it.
but yeah. But it comes back to it here, about, like, at what point is that reason good enough? Axe refers to it as a morality of convenience here.
Mm.
Um, and I do think that's interesting, because, like I said, that is the other way to view it, right? This idea of, like, well, it's totally unethical to do this, except when it's not, kind of thing. And where is the line between that actually being the case and just you saying, I can do whatever I want, really, because I want to?
Yeah, do the ends justify the means?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
that's the simple obvious way to sum it up.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
more nuanced. It's at you know what I mean? Like, at what
well, I think the thing is there's kind of two different, like, that ends justify the means thing
Mhm.
comes into play in the finale of this book, but
Mhm.
it's in a different way than the conversation they're having now, which is really just about morphing humans
Yeah.
still, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really and stealing military equipment and stuff. Like,
Right, I guess
sure, sure.
that's right. Yeah, I guess that's but I
That
mean,
doesn't bother me or you, I guess, but it clearly, I'm sure it bothers Jake a lot.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess. It just I mean, like I've said before, it's just hard it is hard for me to really get invested in it because to me I'm just like at the thing that happens at the end, I'm like, okay, we'll get to it.
Hmm.
That's real shit. But this right here, I'm like, yeah, of course it's time to
Hmm.
do this. I'm just fully on board with it. I don't
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
just
I
do
feel
it.
you. Yeah, maybe this isn't the best time to have this conversation when it comes because
Right.
nobody cared about morphing humans in the first place. It doesn't. As opposed to saying like at what point do the ends justify the means? When do you need to do? You kind of end up saying, well, given that the ends here are that boohoo Cassie's going to be sad because it's not actually a big deal if you morph humans or not. Uh, the ends justify it pretty much as soon as it matters at all. Right,
Yeah.
because
Also, how many
because
times have we had discussions and plots where you have to, potentially murder innocent hosts or
mhm.
all kinds of things? I don't know, crash planes into buildings and shit. Like,
Yeah,
it's like too little, too late, man. What are you talking about? You passed this point of no return 20 books ago, I think.
yeah, like I keep trying to find ways to justify Cassie's thing, and I think there are ways to do it, but even giving her the most leniency possible, it's still like nowhere near as bad as just like, oops, I killed that Hork-Bajir host when I killed the Yurt.
Yeah. Oh,
Like it's just
well.
not. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's what it is. But at least I mean, credit where credit's due, I guess. They're like it's the book is trying to say something. It's not just action and whatever and plot and whatever. Like it's trying to be about something. And
Yeah.
it doesn't I don't think it like fails in every respect. So it's all right.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, listen, I don't hate this book.
Yeah, I'm trying to
I
give him
don't.
something. I'm
That's
trying to be
reasonable.
nice.
Should we actually go steal this jet?
Steal this jet.
All right, so they're doing it. They head over to I a nearby Air National Guard base, I guess. Like literally, they're just there. They don't explain where this thing is or how they're just there now.
It's the
And they're,
same
they're
one they went to in the kangaroo book, right? It's that
oh
military
yeah, it's got
base.
to be that. That's right. Except I thought that was a private airport. I don't know what that was. Listen, they're in the locker room. Like we basically cut to them in the locker room. Don't worry about how they got in. We've had enough of that sort of thing. Um, Axe knocks out and morphs a Captain Joseph Folletti, and also knocks out a Michelle Leary, who Rachel morphs and who was a
Mm.
controller, and the others morph fleas on them. They head out to the airfield. They just kind of hop into a plane and take off. And very quickly, the control tower is all like, excuse me, where are you going? That doesn't compute. Wait, you're under arrest. That sort of thing. And then they send out two jets after them to shoot them down. So they go full speed throttle. I don't know if they actually hit full speed. Whatever. There's a lot of talk about numbers and stuff, but they escape the two pursuing jets for the moment, and they make it out to the coordinates that they were supposed to get to, where they find the USS George Washington. It's a big military ship. The ship has been warned that they were heading for it, and so to avoid being shot down, they basically crash land the plane in the ocean. But fortunately, Axe does it good, so they manage to survive and they can make it to the ship. Um, Now, I mean, can I say this is an insane scene, but it doesn't feel that insane to me. And I don't know if it's because this is not the first time that they snuck onto a military airport or the first time that they hijacked a plane as humans or just like something about the writing maybe. I don't know, but like when I'm reading this I'm just like, okay, here we go. They're in the plane, they fly away. It feels like this should be like one of the most insane things they ever did. Like this is they actively like commandeered some fucking high level military stealth bomber fighter or something,
Well, you don't
right?
have Marco there constantly saying, "This is insane."
He is there. Why isn't he saying that?
Because even he at this point is numb to it. It's just, yeah, it doesn't
Mhm.
register as anything really. It's not written in a very dynamic fashion. It's just, we got the guy. There was the plane. We got on it. We went there. It's just it's kind of matter of fact for what it is.
Yeah, a lot of this book is kind of matter of fact.
I have a couple things I want to say. The first one is, I'm morphing on a jet plane. I guess I'll be a bug again. It's the first thing. And then else.
Can I tell you when
Hmm?
I was in when went to nerd camp every summer,
Oh
I
boy.
took a history of disease course, and the TA wrote a parody of that song about I believe yellow fever, and it whenever I hear that song, all I hear is like I'm leaving in a mosquito, don't know who my next host will be,
Oh God.
something like that.
That doesn't match the anything. That
Well,
sucks.
she played it on an acoustic guitar, so in my head I hear it.
Ugh. Give me your name after the show. I need to. I'm gonna punch that up because that
this
sucks.
this would have been like 20 years ago, so I wouldn't know.
I'm sure you know her name. Can you give me anyway? Give me your name. The second thing I wanted to say was, this is ground control to Major Axe. Okay.
Okay, that was those are both
Those
sure.
were the two things.
I don't think either of those is worth a full parody, so I think you made the right decision by just saying it
Yeah,
here.
thank you. I think so too. Um, Here's the other thing about this scene. In addition to it being dull,
Hmm.
I, the setup makes no sense to me. Not no sense, but so they have to morph a fighter pilot, but do they?
I guess they want to just walk onto the plane and take off before they get stopped.
the So initially I'm thinking, is the idea that they'll know how to fly a plane because of the pilot's instincts? I know that shouldn't be how morphing works with a human, but
Hmm.
is it? Maybe it is. But no, it seems like they're just purely relying on Axe's technical knowledge.
Yeah, Axe
He
can figure it out.
he just
Hopefully.
figures it out. So then, wouldn't it be easier and more logical to, instead of having to sneak in and then find a specific pilot and then acquire them and hide them and deal with all this, wouldn't it be easier to just get any human adult male or female from literally anywhere in the city, have that morph ready to go, then you go in and you can like steal their clothes somehow? Just steal, what you need is an outfit, not the actual human being.
I don't know. The guards might know them, so it's
But
fully possible.
they don't, they leave without being authorized to take off or be in the plane anyway.
I
They're
don't
not
know.
like, oh yeah, go
I mean,
ahead, sir. They don't
you
they
also don't even really need a human morph. You could morph fly to buzz into the plane, because then you wouldn't get stopped going
yes.
into the plane. Maybe they thought if the control tower thought that he was actually Captain Filetti, they were like, yeah, Axe can totally just bluff it.
I
He'll just be like, oh
guess.
no, I'm doing what we're supposed to be, and then no, that doesn't. I mean, that would be a stupid plan, but
But they find out it's not them after like 30 seconds.
yeah.
It's
Also, even
immediate.
if they didn't, it would just be like, why aren't you doing what you're supposed to be doing? And you'd be like, and they'd be like, we're gonna shoot you down if you don't. Like, it doesn't even matter if he's who he says he is. You can't, like, you don't get to be like, no, I'm the guy who normally flies this stealth bomber, so I can just kind of take it and go wherever. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Maybe this is the stuff Lane doesn't like. Anyway, I think we can. But and then they like the way they crash land the plane.
Hmm.
I don't know. None of it really makes that much sense to me. It's like he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, if we crash it the right way, what are you talking about? Turn into a bird." like, go out the door and turn into something. You'll be fine. You've done
Yeah,
this before.
it does kind of feel like it's like, well, ooh, I need an exciting sequence where Axe can do like the I am the servant of my people thing. And so it just, he's got to crash it. He crash it. He's crashing. He's out. They're safe. They're out. They're safe. You know, like,
I mean, this and the next section and the rest of this book makes me wonder, are we sure Taylor Anderson didn't ghostwrite this one?
which one was Taylor Anderson?
That's the author of Destroyer Men.
Oh, right. Oh, well, we'll talk about, if you're ready for the next section, we'll talk about
I am.
Destroyer Men.
I'm ready.
Okay. So, all right. So, in the next section, they are on board the USS George Washington. They're on the ship. And they're sneaking around. And I've already skipped a chapter, which we'll talk about this chapter. They're sneaking around when a helicopter carrying some VIP lands. It is an Admiral Carrington and Chapman. Whoa, we haven't seen that guy. But we know there's Yerks if Chapman's here. So the Animorphs follow them below deck, but they're morphed as seagulls. So as soon as they go below deck, they get noticed and there's a chase. They get away and Axe morphs into Folletti again and steals a uniform, and the rest of them run him as fleas. He goes to find Chapman and the Admiral, and he finds them meeting with a Captain Plummer. Chapman and the Admiral bring Plummer into his office, and they infest him. And the Animorphs burst in and kind of, it's like too late to save Plummer, but they like tear up the scene. We find out that Admiral Carrington is Visser 2. Whoa, Visser 2's here. And they have to retreat from the fight. There's more sneaking around. Axe knocks out and morphs another guy. And then they I don't know. They're walking around the ship. They're going from place to place, and there's like some sneaking and fighting and going.
This is ground control to Visser 2.
All right. So here's the thing about Destroyer Men.
Special sneak preview for non-patrons.
Yeah. The thing about Destroyer Men is that it was very, very concerned that you should know, like, all of the make and model numbers for the ships and the planes and the exact calibers of every gun and cannon. And just, like, every fucking page, you'd have, like, goddamn, like, 50 proper nouns, because it was just like, I have to tell you what kind of plane, I have to tell you what class of ship, and it was very obnoxious and it sucked, and we were both pretty unhappy about that.
And we just read this book. That is the last book we read for this podcast.
Yes, we just had to read it. So there is an entire chapter here where Jake's like, oh, we're on board the USS George Washington. I know some stuff about that because I'm a military guy. And they're like, oh yeah, Jake, tell me. And he just starts listing off facts about the Nimitz class of ship and the George Washington in particular, like its size and when it was made. And like, he's throwing out all these acronyms, and the characters keep being like, oh yeah, tell us more about that, Jake. Even to the point where you would think Marco would be like, oh my God, are you serious? Are we done? And no, he's fine with it. You'd think Cassie wouldn't talk at all, but there's a part where she's like, ooh, what's that acronym stand for? You know, Rachel loves it because she's very interested. You know, Rachel, because she's such a violent person, what she loves more than anything else is learning about the technical specs of warships. That's her favorite part of violence, is the technical specs. It's so bad. And it probably wouldn't be that bad if we hadn't just read 400 pages of it. But
I really was getting flashbacks. It was not fun.
It's so obnoxious.
Now, Rachel
and
does
I'm
say,
sure as a kid that I did not like it either, because like I said, I have like no memories of this part of the book.
Rachel does ask Jake, do you have a life?
That's true.
When he first starts.
Mm-hmm.
But then he goes on for 12 paragraphs. Look, this series continues to try to convince me that Jake is a military buff and always has been, and I refuse to let them get away with it.
I
It
think he
is
started
not
around the
true.
late 20s or the early 30s. I
No,
think that's when he started.
it started with like one sentence where he was like, "Oh yeah, I know that that's a boat." And then there's like 4 or 6 books later, like another sentence where he was like, "Oh yeah, I recognize that plane." And now all of a sudden, like the last couple, there's like a little more, and here we are. Just the floodgates have opened. He now, according to this book, canonically, all Jake does in his free time is pore over military books and read fucking Destroyer Men or whatever the fuck he reads. I don't believe it. I don't think that he does this. This is not part of his character.
Just thank
Like,
your lucky stars that this wasn't a Jake book like it should have been for book 46, because, yeah, at least Navidad or whatever you're calling her would not have been able to restrain herself. That just would have been the entire book.
I guess it makes sense from the perspective that he's the leader, so his leadership qualities maybe come from his study and interest in military history. I, okay. It's
Yeah, I
just
don't know.
not,
I'm
I don't
buying it. It's not like they don't, it's not sprung on you necessarily all at once. They are escalating at each book, so it's like he's getting
very
more and more
it
into it.
really feels like the escalation was too much for me. I mean, I
I feel
just
like you
never
just
saw
weren't
it.
the right kind of loser growing up. So you're just like, no kid would ever do this. And I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't do this, but I would do this about a different subject.
Yeah, Pokemon or some shit. I I don't know. I guess, but it just doesn't feel like Jake does not strike me as this person. And
Mhm.
I also, can I say something sexist?
Uh-oh. I mean,
It's
I would
fine.
hate to
No,
tarnish your perfect reputation.
no one listens this far in, so it's fine. There- What? Who wrote this? Elise, Elise, whatever her name is. Now I can't remember because all I can think is Navidad.
I think it was Donner, actually, wasn't it?
Something, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know how you got there.
Um, I, I, I mean, I'm sure they exist. I'm sure there are female military buffs like this out there. But isn't it just like 98% male boomers and Gen X that obsess over World War One and Two ship models? Like, who else gives a fuck? I don't understand where this came from.
I mean, I will say, I was remembering all that stuff that what's her name was saying in book 44 about like, oh, I had to research how to get on the plane and I had to research about Australia, and I don't know, it really felt like Elise went and did a whole bunch of research on these boats, and she was like, boy, most of what I learned is completely irrelevant to the story, but goddamn did I waste a lot of time learning it, and goddamn if I don't put it in the stupid book. Like, I am writing this. If I had to learn it, it's going in here.
How am I supposed to fill 118 pages if I don't dedicate 4 of them to the names of planes?
She accidentally spent 2 of her 4 weeks researching.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that is how it reads. It reads like this is just inserted. Like all of a sudden, you're reading a sixth grader's report on
Mhm.
boats. It's just like, okay, this is boring. I don't care. I do not care about any of this. But we can try to move on from that. I'm glad Chapman is somehow relevant here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see him again because
At
we
first it
basically have
was
forgotten
nice.
about him. Yeah, but then it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
problem. Is who cares?
yeah, Chapman these days, like, I feel like they keep thinking, oh, we forgot about Chapman. We got to put Chapman in. And so then they're like, one of these random guys could be Chapman. And then we could say his name. Like, it doesn't matter.
Now, and here is where I'll say kind of a big picture thought about this book as we move into the second half.
Mhm.
last week we were talking about how, oh, this book is the plot really moving, and we kind of questioned, do we like, is this book really that good, or do we just maybe like it because we want plot so bad? And
Uh-huh.
this book is the evil twin of that book, because it's a similar thing where, yeah, it's got the momentum, it's got the plot. Like, we are doing things that are important, that matter to the overall story of Animorphs a lot,
Hmm.
but it's boring. There's
Yeah.
the character stuff either isn't there or is half baked. And especially what I'm feeling at this point in the book is that I don't really have a clear idea of what we are doing and why and what it's leading to. The last book
Hmm.
felt very, okay, we need to protect Marco's dad, so we need to bring him here, so he needs, and then he's going to find out this, and then we need him to build that. And it was all like building to something logically. And this book is just like, because a part of it is, I think they're doing the thing where they don't want to tell you the plan until they do it, so you're surprised. But it just feels like, oh,
Yeah.
now we're taking a plane to go to what are we going to find? I don't know. Oh, turns out it's a boat. What's on the boat? I don't know. Turns out it's this. What is that? I don't know.
Hmm.
It's just a lot of stuff happens. It's just very scattered.
Yeah, like the basic setup is good, right? Like we found out there's this big important thing taking place at this location. We know we're in a pivotal moment, so this has got to be important. We got to go there and see. But like it, yeah, really once they get there, they should immediately see. Right? They should get there. You should not be here like what they're doing is important because it must be important, right? How could it not be? Like you should we're halfway into the book or whatever. We should be saying what they're doing is important because it is, you know?
Yeah.
Like I know what it is. Yeah, I do have a note here. I like one of my notes is just a bullet point that says I'm so bored. And that's like all of it. It's not just Jake like oh no, there's a chase. Oh, that's Visser too. Oh, there's a chase. Oh, they're hiding. Axe morphed again. And I'm just like, I don't that sure is a sequence of things happening.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot like Destroyer Man.
A lot. Like this is definitely the most Destroyer Men of all the parts, although it doesn't get that much better.
I do recall, I mean, the Nartek book kind of had some of this.
Hmm.
Remember, wasn't then because all the ships like floated into their home?
Oh, you mean
But
like just talking about what kind of ships they were and
yeah, yeah,
stuff?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 I but
I
I
mean, I
felt
also
like
thought that book was boring. So
yeah, I did not hate that part of that book though. Like
right.
I,
Well,
I
it's
don't
not
know,
this
like
egregious. No.
no, like the fact that they were listing off all the things I think actually kind of helped the atmosphere. And maybe part of the reason they helped the atmosphere is because like every boat was completely different, so it added to this idea of like, oh, I don't really know the differences between all these different types of boats, but I do know that that one's like a wooden boat from the 1800s and that one's like a metal boat from 1945 and like in my brain I get it. Whereas
Right.
here it's just like I don't know what any of this shit is and I don't care what any of this shit
Yeah.
is.
When they frequently cut in to be like, Tobias was hiding under an F-14 Wildcat. I'm like, am I supposed
Yeah.
to, like, is that supposed to really matter to me? Am I supposed to have a picture of what the fuck that is in my head?
Yeah, like
I,
there's definitely a part here where they're talking about the planes, like, oh, we're up on the deck where they have all the planes. And when I say that I don't even know if they use the word planes. They're like they keep the, this, that, and the other, and it's like five different models of plane, and I'm just like, you could have just said that the jets. I don't care.
yeah.
This sucks.
Maybe Elise has a son that loves this shit and this book is for him.
Or a grandpa.
Or a grandpa.
I
Or a
just realized
grandma.
something. I
What?
forgot. Oh my god.
What?
You know what? There's a
What?
dedication in this book that's different.
Oh my god. Fuck
In
it.
addition
Start the
to the
episode
regular
over.
thing,
Roll it
it's
back.
it says for dad. And I
Well,
forgot about it because I think in my brain it didn't feel that important, so I
there
didn't
you have it,
like
folks. That's
now
who
it
it's
feels
for.
important.
This book is for dad.
Yeah, that's it.
If you had to give your dad one Animorphs book to read, maybe it would be this one. Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, I mean, at least my dad's not like that, but he's kind of a weirdo.
Yeah, we don't need to. We don't have time to discuss your weird family right now. Let's get to the actual now. The next
Yeah.
quote unquote
Well,
revelation.
well, before we do that, can I
Oh,
talk about
well,
Bob and Laverle?
I'd rather you didn't, but okay.
They're two of the soldiers. Bob said
Okay.
he saw a tiger, and Laverle swears she saw some weird blue deer. I like Bob and Laverle.
All right, fine.
They're my friends.
We need to
My
get
best
moving.
friends.
We have to
Okay.
keep going.
All right. So what's happening? Axe has like found his way in with the Visser 2 and the Yerks and stuff again. And he's in human morph, so they don't know it's him. And the reports start coming in. There are reports of a missile that's being fired from a Chinese sub nearby. And then there are all these big explosions. And everyone's like, oh my god, we're under attack. And Axe realizes, oh shit, the Yerks, they're doing like a false flag attack. They're trying to make it look like the Chinese are attacking so that we'll attack back, and they're going to try to instigate World War III. That's the plan. That's Operation 9466. Um, so Axe he causes a commotion. He shoots Visser 2 in the leg and like drags him into a room and morphs him. He's like, I'm Visser 2, Chapman, and I want you to recall all the planes that are attacking those submarines so that doesn't happen. The retaliatory attack doesn't happen. Then the Animorphs capture Captain Plummer and Chapman, and they've got all the bad guy Yerks captured. And Visser 2 explains the whole plan like a comic book villain. And he's like, ah ha ha, even though you've recalled the planes, it doesn't matter because there'll still be sending reports that there was an attack off to our people in the government, and a nuclear sub piloted by Taxons will be ordered to start bombing China, so it's still gonna happen. Haha. And you, even if you kill me, I won't call that off. So it's all over for you. So that's what's happening. That's 9466. It's like a World War false flag thing.
Visser 3/1's plan named after him that he's not even present to oversee.
Yeah, Visser 2 is doing it for him.
So Visser 2, here he is.
Here he is. He doesn't matter. He's nothing.
How many times have we said, or at least I've said, are we ever going to meet Visser 2? Who is Visser 2?
Less character than Visser 4 in Megamorphs 3.
It's nothing. Yeah, it's completely, the fact that they put on the cover of this book as a hook, come on in, man, Visser 2, you aren't going to believe this shit. Visser fucking 2.
Here he is.
He's nobody. It's just he gets to deliver this villain monologue. Why? He hasn't earned this at all. Why isn't it just Visser fucking 3? It should just be him. Who the fuck is this guy?
It would be cooler if the Admiral shows up and he's like, aha, I think you know me. I'm Innis 226, and they're like, "Oh shit, it's Chapman's Yerk. That's his name, right? Innis 226."
Oh yeah,
and,
sure.
And they're like, "Oh shit, Chapman got a promotion. He's not maybe Chapman's Visser 2 now, and who knows what the real Chapman is? He's got a new Yerk or something. I think that would be cool, maybe, right? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be something. There's just no reason to invent this character here. They add nothing to the proceedings.
I'd care a lot more.
I mean, similar to what we said about Visser 4, as you referenced, it would just have so much more impact if it was someone we knew and cared about.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least if you're gonna introduce Visser 2, make him have a lisp or something. I don't know. Like, you gotta give him something. There's nothing memorable about this character. It sucks.
I mean, yeah, no, just honestly, they should have had him just literally come in there and talk with like a German accent and be like an Indiana Jones Nazi type.
Yeah, how about it's Taylor? I don't know. Fucking anything is better than this. Who cares?
This is just a guy. He's here.
It's a guy. Whatever. So big, fat, nothing burger. Now, all of this shit is insane. The fact that We're starting a world war with China.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like we're going straight into fucking nuclear annihilation shit. Like this is like you can't it feels like you can't really escalate beyond this, and yet we have 10 more books to go. So
Yeah.
this feels like a later plot or something. I
We're kicking it
recall
off.
as I recall, and you can remind me if I'm wrong since you watched it recently, but in the X-Men animated series from the 90s,
Mm.
isn't that literally like the opening like three-parter or something or two-parter as Magneto shows up and he's like, "Hi, I'm Magneto and I'm going to start nuclear war."
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah.
"What the fuck are you doing? We're starting."
I mean, yeah, that show is fucking crazy, but yes. Yeah, that's a big part of it. Here's my pitch for the Yerks.
Mhm.
I, Look, explain to me why this is wrong.
Sure.
This is an elaborate plan. We're gonna we've after all these years infiltrating Earth, it's time to kick shit up a notch. We're on a military American ship. We're gonna lie about a Chinese missile hitting us so that we can then fire back and we'll tell America that it happened. It's all this stuff. What if you, I don't know, fly to China, put a yerk in some Chinese military guy's head, and just actually fire missiles from China? Like, you could just cut out all the middlemen. Just literally start the war right there.
It's interesting because I had thought to make a very different complaint about this book's idea of like nuclear war and all that sort of thing. But like I think there's a very real point here. This feels very much like almost like she just forgot that foreign people have agency. Right? It's like the United States is going to start a nuclear war with China by escalating here, and to do that we got to trick them. Why not like why not get some Chinese people to do something instead of just getting the Americans to do something and go through escalatory process? Why not get some Americans and some Chinese people? Like cuz they could both take actions. Like you
Yeah.
have a good point. Did they forget that China is made up of as a country made up of people?
Yeah, it just seems like I'm so confused about what I'm supposed to understand about this Yerk invasion that feels like they have not left Southern California. Like, what the fuck are they
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, it's very weird. Um
So
yeah,
complicated for no reason.
agreed. Um
This book is very a little bit Hunt for Red October esque.
that's true, that's true.
Yeah,
I Here's the thing. I feel
HVT.
like I feel like this whole nuclear apocalypse thing was written by somebody who's like understanding of nuclear weapons and like the danger they pose to the world was nukes are bad and they pose a danger to the world. Cuz like the process here is just like, oh no, one boat fired on another and we fired back. And then once that incident makes its way to the United States, you know what's going to happen is once we hear that there was any kind of armed incident whatsoever between nuclear powers on any scale, the immediate next step in the escalation process is we're going to start nuking cities off their coast. Because of course, as soon as any conflict happens, we know nuclear powers immediately jump to nukes. And of course, China would nuke us back. And as we know, I believe Visser 2 just straight up says that once the US and China start nuking each other, everyone else is going to want to get in on it too. Like the UK and France and the Russians and the Pakistan, they'll all fire all their nukes because, like, after all the cool kids are doing it, and that might be their last chance to shoot them off, right? And it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, yes, nukes are dangerous. Yes, they pose an existential threat to our world. But, like, no, time and time again, nuclear powers have shown that people don't actually want to end the world in a fiery holocaust and will do everything in their power to keep, like, those kinds of conflicts at some kind of level where it doesn't escalate to everybody dies. Like
Yeah.
that's just insane to me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's
Like
it's a it's a leap.
you don't think that like there would be an incident where like two ships fired on each other and immediately every diplomat from like the US and China who could possibly do it would get together and be like, "Okay guys, how do we not kill everyone over this?" Like, you know what I mean? Like even if we had like open war, it's not like this is the thing that people get worried about with like Russia too, where they're like, if Russia loses the war, won't they just nuke everyone? And it's like, no. Uh, the Russian, like the Ministry of Defense, who have a lot to gain from this, like they still have a lot to gain if they lose the war through like graft and shit. They're not going to kill themselves to end the world just because they lost the war. Putin might, but he's not enough, right?
You
Like
didn't think
there's
that this episode was going to go here, did you, listeners?
I bet you didn't. But like there are some checks and balances on these things.
And I mean, wouldn't it just make more sense and solve everything if it was just, hey, they put a yerk in every world leader and they're all going to fire the nukes at the same time because it's
Isn't
yerks.
isn't it funny how that was their plan in book fucking 20 and that's
Yeah,
just not
well,
their plan anymore.
yeah, it didn't work out. Let's try something else.
Uh,
We California's good enough. We'll let everyone else deal with it.
yeah, I don't know. It
I
feels yeah.
it's ridiculous. I mean it plays stupid for the time. It may be even stupider now, or maybe just because I'm more aware now, slightly more aware now of the world. But also I like when is it Marco who says that the US doesn't have any serious enemies anymore? That he's just like, yeah, we're cool with the Chinese. Everything's cool. Like everyone kind of likes us now. Don't worry, but this is nothing will happen. It's like, okay, whatever you say, buddy. I don't know. It's weird. It doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
It's also just such a bombastic, wild
Mhm.
thing to put in this young adult series.
Yeah.
It really is, like, we're kind of used to it now. It doesn't maybe
Yeah.
phase us as much as it should, but it is crazy to be writing about this
You know, they've got
in this
a whole
series.
sub full of Taxons that are ready to take the command to just fire the nuke. Why don't they just fire the nukes? Like, you want an
Right.
escalatory process that will actually lead to nuclear war. The best thing you could start with is an actual nuclear strike on multiple cities,
They're worried
right? Because
about the
that gets you there
paperwork.
all in one shot.
They need a paper trail. They want to be able to justify it. There's the Yerks are bureaucrats at heart.
Uh,
I don't think that's true. Um, Marco makes a comment here about a Nazi song.
oh, yeah.
When they're talking about World War II or World War III or whatever the fuck they're talking about. And he's like, I bet they're all going to start singing, that Nazi song. They're going to sing The Future Belongs to Me.
Hmm.
I had to look this up. Did you know what the fuck he was talking about?
I have heard of it, but I didn't quite remember the exact context. But I did know that that's a Nazi song.
As far as I can tell, this is originally Tomorrow Belongs to Me, and it's from the musical Cabaret. And
Okay.
and it was like, in the musical, it's a song sung by fascists slash Nazis, I think. I
Okay.
haven't watched that in a long time, so I don't remember the context. But and then in real life, it sounds like they did co-opt that song, and maybe they
Yeah.
changed it to the future. I wasn't sure if that's the different version of the song.
I'm not entirely sure, but like I was under the impression that originally it came from some musical or something, and that actual real life weirdo Nazis had just been like, yeah, that's ours now or something.
It feels like a weird thing for 15-year-old Marco to just know about.
I mean, he might just be referencing Cabaret. Maybe he
That's
doesn't know that it's
still
a.
weird. I think that's still weird. I don't think Marco's a big musical theater head.
Yeah, you're right.
It
I
was just
agree.
so strange to drop this little trivia fact about a Nazi song in the middle of all this. I was like, what? Why are you even talking about any of this? I don't know. It's strange. Whatever. We can keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's fucking crazy. I don't care about Visser 2. It's Oh, I should mention though, there is a bolded section in the middle here. So I don't know if listeners remember at the end of last book that like there was that whole like bolded message like to the reader. In the middle of
Right.
this, and this isn't even at the end of the book, there's like some dashed lines and then a message that says everything is going as planned. Soon you will all be ours. In the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I did. I saw that. I was not sure if it was like a printing error or
I think it
what
would
it
work better in the
was.
actual book than in whatever weird ebook thing you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, it is like in bold and the text is smaller than the rest of the text. So it
Hmm.
is distinct, but I didn't remember that other thing that happened and I
Hmm.
didn't know what the fuck this was.
I think somewhere around this point, as we're moving into the like getting closer to the end game of this series, there was some kind of campaign that involved like the website too, with like a Yerk takeover of the
Oh,
website and
like
like
an
a
ARG or
resistance
something?
newsletter that you could like subscribe to. And I'm wondering if this was like part of that because I never participated in that, but I don't know.
Are you saying there's not an in-universe explanation for this?
That the Yerks are they're listen, the Yerks are gaining control over the publishing companies and they've discovered the books and they're inserting these messages into them. They don't know the identities of the Animorphs yet. Because, they've only read 46 books, but they're getting pretty close. They've almost figured it out. Someday they're going to crack that last name.
I mean, honestly, from you saying, "Oh, this is a thing," and you pointing it out, I was like, "Oh, I guess I don't know. Is this supposed to be Krayak or something?" like I
Uh,
don't know.
I don't know.
But I guess it's
It could
just
be
bullshit.
Krayak. Maybe it's Krayak. Maybe it's the Drode.
I wish. God, if the Drode were in, at least fucking Megamorphs 3 had the Drode.
That's true. Yeah, I'd
Okay.
rather see the Animorphs as Nazis than Marco talk about a Nazi song. So, all right. This next section's boring. We're gonna blaze through it pretty quick before we
Yeah.
talk about the final gimmick. All right. So they had him explain the plan. They've got him captured. Suddenly, bug fighters attack, and Visser 2 escapes in the chaos. There's a massive fight that breaks out, and a bunch of the real troops start fighting on the same side as the Animorphs. Because, like, they're like, oh shit, we're under attack. Oh shit, some of our comrades are helping the Yerks. So they all start fighting. Axe morphs another guy. This time he asks permission. And the guy's like, yeah, sure, buddy, Mr. Alien. He sees Chapman running away and follows him. He like tries to take Chapman prisoner, but there's explosions and he gets taken prisoner. There's more explosions. There's like a scene where Captain Plumber dies and the Yerk crawls out of
Captain
him at the last
Plumber.
minute. And Axe, is like stays with him as he is like, oh, I'm sorry. There's more war and carnage and dying and all this. And it goes on for quite a while. It's just a lot of action. There are a lot of names of types of planes. I'm not happy about it. This part is pretty. I feel like this whole section is very reminiscent of Megamorphs 3 in a bad way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The like
Yeah.
long, like, look how horrible war is. There's explosions and people dying. And I'm like, it's too much. I don't care.
This is where pretty much all of my goodwill, if I ever had any towards this book, kind of crumbles.
Hmm.
It's, I mean, first of all, this thing of, oh, the good old military boys are on the right side of history helping the Animorphs. Rah, rah. Fuck off. I don't, it doesn't, like, what? Why? All, like, it's escalating so quickly to a
Yeah.
full on alien human fight. Like, this is a
Yeah.
scene from the fucking Battleship movie Independence Day. It's just, I don't. We should watch both of those for the show, for the Patreon, probably.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
A double feature. That sucks. I don't. It's just so hard for me to swallow that how quickly they all get on board with this and are like, oh, we get it. You guys are the good guys and they're aliens. We'll help you out. What? Like, it's just, why? Why? How are you? What are you? No one's questioning. No one's like, what the fuck's happening? They're just so ready to go to bat for them. I don't, I don't know what to do with this. I just can't process it. It just happens. There's no exploration of it whatsoever. Axe is just asking folks, hey, do you mind if I morph ya? And they're like, go for it, buddy. What? It's stupid. It's so stupid.
I feel like I didn't even process it enough to have those complaints. Because, like, everything you're saying is correct, but, like, my whole response reading this is just like, yep, more shit. It's happening. Here we are. All right, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. I unfortunately, I guess, thought about it a little more. It's dumb. I also didn't like Chapman here. Axe has this thing about how Chapman's a coward. Like, that's he's one of the worst sort of Yeerks, eager for glory, but unwilling to dirty his own hands. And I'm reading that thinking, is that what Chapman is like? I mean, now that I think about it, I don't know if I know anything about Chapman besides he bad Yeerk man.
May I also posit
Yes.
that it wouldn't make him better if he was like, is Axe over here like, there we go. What a coward. He orders the murder of babies, but he doesn't do it himself. There we go. What a good man he is, finally stabbing those babies to death himself. The better man. I don't know about
well,
this.
for Axe, maybe it would be, because,
yeah, maybe for because I feel like that's something you say about, like, your commanders, right? Where you're like, they'll send me in to do this, but they won't do it themselves. That's why I have disdain for them, that they don't understand what they're making me do. As opposed to, like, yeah, I mean, it's anyway, whatever. Fuck it.
At least Visser 3 carries out his own executions.
Yeah, at least Visser 3 had the balls to eat my brother alive.
I respect that.
Oh,
then Chapman locks Axe in a room.
Yeah.
He just locks him, like...
Yeah, that's true. He does. He just is like, I'll lock you in this room and, like, see ya, I got things to take care of. I didn't even think about that, because I was just like, yep, more things that happened, but...
I'm glad that I could come in here to really drive home for you how stupid this all is.
Yeah, because, like, this is one of those things, right? Normally I'm like, I got to figure out the exact sequence of events. And in here, I'm almost just like, if I figured out the exact sequence of events, you would start yelling at me because I'd talk 5 times longer than was necessary to explain everything that happened that didn't matter. But, like, yeah, no, you're right. It's stupid. He does do that.
As, like, you don't think he's gonna, you know what morphing is.
Yeah.
It's not like he's not in a sealed chamber or something. It's just like a door.
And who can guess what morph Axe uses to escape? It's Andalite. He uses his tail blade. He doesn't even have to be like he could morph. He could be an Andalite and that would get him out.
Completely ridiculous. Now, there is one moment that I actually like, and that is when Axe has a little heart-to-heart with the Admiral as Visser 2 is leaving his head. So,
yeah.
Hope you liked Visser 2, folks. He's gone.
Wait, I thought that was Captain Plumber, and it was Random Yeerk leaving his head.
I thought it was the Admiral.
No, because Axe takes Visser 2 later.
Oh, maybe I'm...
I think this is just Captain Plumber with Random Yeerk, who is unnamed and was inserted earlier.
Damn. Oh, you're right. It is Captain Plumber. Yeah.
Well, it's far less interesting than you thought.
Okay, that's just a guy. Whatever. It's sort of a nice moment where he's like, "Hey, you tried, buddy. You're dead now. See ya."
I did like it. I I feel like it would hit harder if I hadn't been had a similar scene at the beginning of, I think it was book 41, with the guy who was dying in front of them. And and I'm just like, it's similar and it doesn't hit as hard as that, and I'm a little exhausted by this book.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway,
Um,
those are
it
my
is
thoughts
nice.
on this scene.
There is one bit I like. There is a part where we have the line. So basically, all the troops are rushing to help them, and they're like, "Oh, maybe,
I thought it was American
they understand.
troops.
Yeah, they understand.
But
We're
you
helping.
said
Blah
the
blah blah."
troops are Russian?
Yeah, yes, but now somebody says, and it's heavily implied to be Marco. Somebody says that maybe these troops are rushing to help them because, quote,
Wait
Rachel
a minute.
told those guys what she really looks like and promised them all dates. Now, I
I
would like to imagine this was actually Jake who said it.
I did find that line pretty creepy consider. I mean, I guess these are soldiers, maybe a lot of them are like might be just 18 or early 20s, but it's still pretty creepy. It's weird for Marco to be like, I mean, even as a joke, it's not it's gross. It's a gross joke, Marco.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't say that when I guess these kids are a little, I don't know how old they are now, but I can't say that when I was 14, I would have been above that kind of joke.
I think
It
they're
doesn't hit as
15.
hard. It doesn't hit as hard when you are that age. You know what I mean? Like when you're an adult and you're like, man, those are just kids. Whereas when you are a kid, you're like, yeah, I can say that.
You're
I don't
right.
know.
Right.
Maybe you were a better person than I was when you were 14 or
I
15.
was, and I am.
I don't know.
I
But
think
yeah,
they're
I
15 or
hear what you're saying.
16.
To be fair, an adult wrote this book, not a 15-year-old.
Well, I mean, Axe wrote this book.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. What am I talking about?
Let's close it out because there's kind of a big thing we got to talk about here.
Yeah, I didn't actually intend to spend that long on that section.
Yeah, it was my fault, but it was worth it.
So, okay. So this is the only part of this book I remembered. All right, so Axe is looking around and he's realizing how awful all the dying and killing is, and he's like, this can't become a worldwide thing. I got to do something. So he goes to Jake and he says, "Listen, what if what if I threaten to bomb the Yerk pool back home? Just drop a fucking nuke on it if Visser 2 doesn't stop. We'll do like a mutually assured destruction thing. He'll have to call it off or the whole invasion will be like doomed because we fucked up the pool. Like sure, we'll kill like 20,000 humans including everyone around there, but it could stop like global nuclear war." And Jake is like, "No way, dude. That is too far. We can't cross that line. That's going too far." And Axe is like, "I thought about it, and I think we have no choice. You got no choice." And he knocks out Jake and goes to do it anyway. And very quickly, all the other Animorphs realize that Axe is acting against Jake's orders, but he convinces them to help anyway. He gets in the plane, and Marco like grabs Visser 2 and throws him in the plane, and Axe takes off. And he's like, "Visser 2, you better call off that submarine attack, or I'm gonna drop this nuke." And it seems like Visser 2 isn't gonna do it, and Axe is gonna have to go through with it. But then at the last second, he's like, "Okay, I'll do it," and he gives the order for the submarine to he calls off the attack so Axe does not have to drop the nuke. And Axe is like, "Oh no, am I a meddling Andalite? Did I do the right thing? Oh no, how horrible." And that's the end of the book. Now, it's kind of crazy. Like, we're already talking about how much this escalated. And like the last couple chapters, it escalates so hard. The Animorphs also keeps topping itself with its smash endings in terms of just like, okay, the book is over now. Like, this is the most it's ever been, maybe.
It's a lot to throw at you all of a sudden. Uh we are, and I mean, I was pretty sure he was not going to drop a nuke on their hometown. But I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, what would he have done if Visser 2 didn't, like, I
Yeah.
feel like Jake said no because like there's no end game other than to do it if Visser 2 doesn't agree.
Yeah. Do you buy Axe disobeying Jake here?
No, not at all.
Okay. Me either, really.
Like,
It's
how many times has it come up that Axe has been all like, I don't know that I agree with this, but it is a human decision for humans to make, and I will do what Prince Jake says, even if I don't agree. Like, he does
right.
that constantly. And here, it's like the escalation from just we're doing our thing to like, this can't be allowed to happen is like, and he knocks out Jake is like one page. Like if he had at the very beginning of the book been like, oh man, this is so much worse than I thought. It can't get this bad. And then at the end of the book, he's like, no, it really can't. I even have to disobey Jake. Maybe I'd believe it. But like, there's no time. There's no room for that.
Yeah, it does not feel like they at all build to this, oh, this is the one time I must disobey him. I mean,
Yeah.
they try a little, but it's just not enough.
Yeah. And what about when they all realize he's disobeying orders and they're like, Jesus Christ, Axe, and then just like Marco's like,
Oh
well, yeah,
yeah.
you're right. There isn't really a choice. Just gotta help. And Cassie just kind of shuts up, and Tobias just kind of shuts up. Like, where is any pushback from anyone on this?
Well, I feel like Marco does a lot, which I didn't also believe though. Like
Yeah,
he says
I,
like,
I
oh,
don't.
he says I trust you to be ruthless, ultra focused, heartless even. I'm like, what, where is this coming from? I don't feel like I feel like at this point that's how Marco sees Axe.
Yeah, I don't. I
That's
don't know.
weird.
It. I feel like Marco pushes back. Maybe not as much as he should. Like, I buy Marco giving in on this, and I buy Rachel going along with it. But there's like no pushback from Tobias or Cassie where there should be a shitload from them. And even Marco is just like, I don't think he should have less pushback than If anything, he should be like working harder to try to have an issue. I don't know. I don't buy that any of them escalate to this point. Axe
Yeah.
or any of the characters whatsoever, except for maybe Rachel. Like, I
Yeah,
buy
this is,
Rachel doing this. Maybe this should be a Rachel book.
but it's also a big problem I have with it is that maybe I skimmed over a line or something, but I
Hmm.
didn't understand what they were talking about until he was on the plane with the
Hmm.
nuke. Like, they first have this conversation where Axe is like, "Oh, Jake, we have to like do this thing. We have to go after the Yerk pool, and it's the only
Yeah.
way." And I was like, I didn't understand with what. Like, he doesn't. I
Hmm.
don't think he says we're gonna steal a nuke and bomb it. He's just like,
Yeah.
this is how we get to him. And I was just like, huh? So then to all of a sudden just tell you, oh yeah, it's a nuke. And so I have to like process that as they're having the moral quandary. It's so stuffed together.
Yeah. They certainly. I'm not sure if they mention the method, but they certainly do not mention a nuke until after he's already in the plane.
Yeah, so
For sure.
I'm like, what the fuck are you even like? What is your plan? What are you gonna say? We're gonna just go there and mess with them? Like, what is? How do you threaten this? Like, okay, it makes sense now. It's a nuke, but when did you get this idea? Who came up
Hmm.
with this plan? How did you figure it out? I don't know. It's just so rushed and strangely packed in there.
Yeah, the whole book, right? It's just like, oh, things have to be serious now. How do I show that they're serious? Oh, well, we're gonna escalate into full blown nuclear war. Stealing military jets, fighting between the military and bug fighters. We're firing nukes on China. End of the world. And then like, oh, well, we have to make serious moral decisions now. So how do we show that? Well, let's just escalate. What if Axe dropped a nuke? Would he do it? To save the world. And it's just like, where is any room to breathe? Like, you've gone from like, oh, things are serious now to the most serious they could possibly be, and there's just no time to feel any of it. It just kind of comes across like, yep, that's sure what they did.
Yeah. And I mean, kind of reiterating something I said earlier, but I don't know. All of a sudden, I don't even necessarily buy Jake's. I mean, well, like I said, I didn't realize at first that it was a nuke. So, okay, it would like potentially murder like all of their friends and family and whatever else the fuck.
Hmm.
So I get that, but like at first having the conversation, it just seems like he's worried about the Yerk pool. Like
Yeah, that's true. Like it
he's like,
doesn't.
we
Yeah,
can't sacrifice, we can't bring ourselves to do that. And I'm like, didn't you like try to blow up the Yerk pool like 7 times? And
yeah.
like, what's
Like
the?
3 books ago. Yeah,
It's a pretty
yeah.
bad.
And it does kind of feel like that, doesn't it? Because like he's like we can't sacrifice those innocent people, but if we're talking about dropping a nuke, shouldn't he be all like, my family lives there, Axe? Like that doesn't come
Right,
up, so it feels like
right.
it feels like you're just right. Jake does not realize Axe is even talking about a nuke. At which point he probably should be like, man, I don't know. I was never certain about blowing up the York pool, but we did think about it before, and if there was ever a time, like I don't, yeah, no, the whole thing just
Yes.
doesn't.
Like this is the conversation exactly. I have an
Yeah,
idea. It is a terrible thing I propose. Go on. Blah blah blah. The target would be the Yerk pool, and then Jake says, "Axe, I can't allow that." That's why it's not explained at all what he's talking about.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
he even
No,
says
you're right.
they're unwilling slaves. Like that's, or I don't know. It's whatever. It's strange. It's just badly laid out. It's not. The book is kind of bad. I like it less after our talking about it and dissecting it. Um, I mean, you get some lore drops. Like you get the what the Visser plan is now, but it's so much of it, like we said, is just this big boring fight that sucks, and the character stuff
Yeah.
is weird and awkward and forced and rushed and
And that's here's the thing about the plan. We got 10 books left, and Visser 2 called off the whole plan over this.
right.
And like we know Animorphs has a history of just doing crazy plans and then never doing them again. It kind of feels like this book doesn't matter. And I think I'm gonna, I mean, maybe I'll change my tune, but I am gonna go with like in retrospect, this book doesn't really matter. Like when you read it, it feels like it has to matter. How could it not matter? But it kind of feels like it doesn't.
It's very strange to for this to be the follow up to last week's book.
Hmm.
It feels like it's so important, and it picks up right there, and this is what they decided to do with it.
Hmm.
Why? If you like, you could have had a calmer book. It doesn't have to be. There's a line between filler and and this.
Hmm.
Like you can have stuff progressing and it not also be literally the potential World War III. It's like take a little time to figure this book. If you wanted to have this plan, like you could have been planting the seeds of them finding out and not just rushing through this entire operation from idea to it failing and them thwarting them. It's just so much. I don't know. I'm really curious what the next book is going to be, which is our last non-chronicles book of the season.
And an Ellen Jarrow.
And an Ellen So once again, I'm like,
Save
Ellen,
me.
you got to come in here and show him how it's done. I don't know what happened here. It's such a strange one. Like I can't explain or understand
Hmm.
where this book went wrong. Was it in the outline stage, the writing stage? Did they not have an idea of the end game yet, so they had to throw this in? I don't know what happened.
You know, I feel like you might be 100% right. It might literally be Kay Applegate knows she has to end the series now, but does not know how she wants to do it. I think that's actually a pretty damn good theory for what went wrong with this book.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably what went wrong with several books in a broad sense.
Yeah,
Oh, I also want to
yeah.
say at one point, X says Marco hisses a word that shouldn't be said in front of parents or teachers, and I think it's
Mhm.
probably cunt.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering what you thought that word might be.
Yeah, I'm just speculating.
Yeah, it's good to have that speculation out there. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like yeah, it was kind of boring to read. There was just too much stuff happening, and I didn't care about any of it. The like big moral quandary at the end just kind of felt like they put it in front of you and said, "See, look at it," but they didn't like think it through or explore it in any way. Yeah, no, I fully understand why I didn't remember this book like at all. All I remembered was, hey, isn't there a book toward the end? And I bet it's book 46 with Axe being the jet pilot, in which Axe thinks about dropping a nuke on their hometown but doesn't. Like that's, and it's like it doesn't matter how many times I reread it. That's all I took away is that happened that one time.
And I like I said at the beginning, I wasn't sure if I thought maybe you would like this book or be able to at least kind of,
Mhm.
I don't know, like offer something that would make me like it more. I guess because it's so plot heavy, maybe I thought maybe this matters more in the future or something, or opens up some new threads that are important later. But because it's a weird experience reading it, where because I'm still riding high on the momentum of book 45, so it was almost like Wile E. Coyote running off a cliff.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I was halfway off that I realized, I looked down and was like,
Yeah.
oh, I kind of, the book is going somewhere. And then you realize it was never going anywhere. And it's very disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, that is the problem is that I can't retextualize it in terms of like, because I guess like very minor thematic spoilers. The fact that Axe has done this is relevant to his character and the way people see him. It's not, they don't literally just forget he did it, which does sometimes happen in Animorphs, that they just forget a book happened and that did Rachel do a 9/11? Who cares or whatever. Um, that's relevant. But like the fact that this was the Yerk's plan, I don't know that that's ever relevant, or that Visser 2, I don't know that that's ever relevant. You would think that at this point the military just knows there's aliens. Right? Like they
Seems like
saw
it.
that piece of alien tech in book 44, there was a big fight over it. That had to be something. And then there's this where somebody stole a plane, there was a crash. There was a massive fight with what looked like aliens on the George Washington. Crazy shit was going down. Some of these people had to have like survived and gotten debriefed by I don't fucking know, Scully and Mulder or whatever. Like people must know this is happening, and I feel like that's sort of technically true, but not enough true. You know,
Hmm.
we'll get
Yeah.
into it when we get into like real actual end game, but like yeah, it doesn't matter the way that it should matter.
It's funny because it, like, based on what happens here, as you said, yes, this should be, everything's out in the open now. But never really in my head did I really think that was the case. I'm just
Yeah, like
I'm just like, I'm pretty sure next book we're still going to be doing pretty much the same shit.
yeah, like you should be seeing next book there's like weird black flights being sent out to do battle with bug fighters in the Antarctic or some shit, right? And like the United States know they're fighting a war but nobody else does or whatever. And the Animorphs are, but like no, that's not the plot of next book. So I don't know.
Strange.
Yeah.
There's some pop culture references, mostly because I included the names of all these ships.
Oh boy. Okay, go for it. I want to hear
So,
all of them.
so first of all, some classic one from Marco. They'd think a call to arms is just a publicity stunt for that show Roswell.
Hmm.
Good, relevant pop culture reference, Marco. Axe has a new model Apple computer I had acquired at Computer City. Turns out to be a new lime green iMac. That's fun.
Wow. That is fun.
Which he bought with Rachel's credit cards.
That's
That's got to
yeah.
be pretty fucking expensive in 2000. A fucking brand new iMac?
Rachel's mom's a lawyer and she gets like millions of dollars in
I
allowance to buy
guess.
clothes.
Yeah, apparently. I guess she feels guilty because of the divorce. All right. Um, they reference the NSA. They also make reference to Henry V and Washington on the Delaware and Normandy Beach. Another Cineplex reference, which I kind of thought wasn't a reference, but maybe we're half counting it now.
Whatever, sure.
Now we get into the fun stuff. An F-16D two-seater fighter bomber.
Oh no.
The Air National Guard, the USS George Washington. Nimitz class built by Newport News Shipbuilding Company. FA-18C Hornets, E-2C Hawkeyes, EA-6B Prowlers, F-14D Tomcats, a NATO Sea Sparrow missile system, a 20mm Phalanx CIWS mount. The Future Belongs to Me Cabaret we referenced earlier. But then we get back to S3B Vikings, SH60F/HH60G Seahawks, the Mark 15 Phalanx, the Mark 29 Sea Sparrow with its SAM launchers, or perhaps SAM launchers. I don't know.
Surface air missile. I don't actually know how people say that abbreviation, though.
Well, there it is. Still one of our shorter pop culture sections ever.
Yeah. I actually thought there was going to be a lot more of that.
Yeah, they spread it out and they talk about them more, but well, I also didn't. I mean, sometimes they repeat the names, so
okay, yeah.
Those were just
you
the
caught
unique
the repeats,
instances. Yeah,
smart. Yeah,
yeah.
good job.
Okay, thanks. So, hope you enjoyed that book, everybody, or at least our discussion of it. If you do have thoughts or feelings on it, you want to defend it, maybe, or commiserate with us about having to read it, you can email us, theyerkyboys@gmail.com. We'll read it on the show. Or if you just have fan fiction you want to send in about your character, that's fine too.
Yeah, we do read that.
Yeah.
And we also have a Patreon if you want to listen to more of our content and send us money and maybe even hear things like the Destroyer Men that would be relevant to the episode so that you're not missing part of the conversation. Patreon.com/theyerkyboys. Now, this week, we're going to be talking about a show called Manimal. And I don't know. I think you should be hyped for Manimal.
Yeah, Manimal
Check
might
that
be
out.
a lot more exciting than some of the stuff we've been talking about lately on the main show and the Patreon. Manimal,
Could well
pretty
be.
good stuff. If you want to follow me online, you can. I'm on Blue Sky at Jonathan Estes. Yeah, I guess I think that's my Blue Sky. And that's my name. It's also my website, jonathanestes.com. I have other podcasts and other stuff there. Check it out.
Yep. You're going to be excited about this book, John.
Oh, I'm on the edge of my seat.
I guess everyone, thanks
Lay
for
it on
listening.
me.
Because next time, we're going to be talking about Book 47, The Resistance, in which Jake turns into a beaver on the Yerky Boys.
That's okay.
It's the beaver book.
All right.